YouTube is setting up. It's going. It's launching. We put this together really quick because there's a lot going on. And I believe that we are live now, boys. Please let me know if we're too loud, too low. I want the chat to keep us honest here because there's been weeks where like Shady's super low or Hargeet's low and I'm too loud, and we just want everybody to be there. But right now, if you are listening to it, there is also the FTC and Microsoft closing arguments going on, and it is quite insane to say the least. So like it's so good that it's a little. I'm fixing Hargeet, sorry, but it's so good that it's insane. So yeah, let's get into intros and then we'll get back into the topics because we all know what we want to talk about. So yeah, I'm gonna start off with Shady. Shady, how's it been going, man? Long time no see, Mister. It's been a week. And what have you been up to, bud?
I've been studying my ass off for the bar exam so I can understand this court case a little better. You know what I'm saying? I've been watching a lot of that, or listening to, I guess, via Twitter, on just the happenings of what's been happening since last week, this week. Been playing a bunch of games, still into Remnant from the Ashes, the first one, in preparation for 2. Did another playthrough there the other day with my bud. It was insane. I dove into Need for Speed, the new Need for Speed. At first, the characters and the dialogue were just maximum cringe for me. I hate the artwork. The game looks amazing. The characters look cheap. And I was super just triggered by it, man. So I turned all the volume down for the dialogue, took off the subtitles, and I was skipping the cutscenes. I did that for about an hour, and then I realized, like, I want to get triggered by this. I want to yell at these characters and scream at the fucking guys. So I turned it all back on. And actually, I ended up really enjoying the game. I got good at it, figured out how to, drift properly and stuff. And I think it's pretty damn good. The characters became less infuriating, and I enjoy yelling at the TV with this kind of crap. So I played a bunch of that. I did some bounties in High on Life. I want to beat the game before the DLC comes out, because that's coming to Game Pass as well. So I want to check that out. And played a little bit more of the Amicia and Hugo. Got a little bit into that. I bounce around a lot of games, man. Just seeing what catches, and that's kind of it. I think I might have gone out and did a night in Gotham Knights again. Just busted some crime, that kind of thing. But nothing serious. Just kind of waiting for this FTC versus ABK thing to wrap itself up. Luckily, we're looking like we're in the very end.
Yeah, it's getting towards the end of it, man, and I feel it. And that's a lot of games, man, that you've been playing. I downloaded Need for Speed Unbound on my Xbox. I think I'm going to check it out once it came to Game Pass.
Oh, and Sifu. Sorry, I just got into Sifu.
Oh, yeah, that game is awesome, man. I played it. I played a lot of it.
I refuse to get past the first boss until I can do it without dying. That's my goal, and I've reset it like 8 times. I'm raging when I die, but I feel good when I'm beating guys' asses.
It's a hard game.
It's pretty good. I wish the graphics were better. I'm not in love with the art style at all. Like, I think it's decent, but it could have certainly been cranked. And it's good. It's semi-deep, but at the same time approachable. I like the game. It's good stuff. I can't wait to play more of it.
I've been playing that a lot actually too on my like the mobile stuff, like my Steam Deck at first, and then now on the ROG. I have it installed there.
Mobile
it's a fun
gamer now.
game. I know, big mobile gamer. I have a phone. Yeah, everybody has a phone. But yeah, let's get Hargeet, buddy. How you doing, man? And get you in here. How's your week been going? And how's your day been going? Because me and you have been talking pretty much all day.
I know, right? So, yeah, my week has been somewhat busy at the beginning of it, and now it's kind of slowing down. It's getting into the July 4th kind of long weekend type thing.
Oh, yeah.
Even though I have to go work Monday,
Me
a
too.
lot of people aren't. So it's kind of slowing down. That's kind of nice. And, of course, we've been having this nice little, trial going on with FTC and Microsoft. And this has been very entertaining. They're still going through the closing arguments, and I'm still listening in. It's rather intriguing. So today has been a lot of that, and just winding down some of the work. And I've been really not playing much, but I did play a little bit of Halo Wars and the Rogue Ally, and I played a little bit of Grounded, and that's pretty much it. I haven't been able to really play much. Hoping to get back into some gaming in a bit. But yeah, so
cool, man. Good to have you here. And as for me, man, I just want to say thank you everybody for showing up. Lethal Boss Mod Papa's in there, keeping the chat clean. He's an awesome person, man. And then we have a bunch of people like Space Dovikin, Dave, everybody in there. We appreciate you guys for coming in and like giving us support. And honestly, I'm surprised that like we have this many people showing up because this FTC thing is still going on and people are talking about it. But hey, we're gonna keep going with the show. I've been playing a lot of games actually. I beat Planet of Lana. Really enjoyed the game. I beat it all on the ROG Ally. I couldn't believe, in one sitting, I just kind of sat in bed. I was not feeling too hot, And then I just kind of sat there and played the game on there and beat the whole thing. And it was a lot of fun. And then I beat Gungrave Gore, which is completely mindless, terrible game. It is not that great. I just beat it because it was so easy. Like, it was just so mind-numbingly easy that it just was like, okay, cool, I beat it, and I uninstalled it and left it, and that was it. But yeah, no, I've just been enjoying stuff, getting in there, and then I've had a lot of work, so I haven't been able to jump into like crazy games where you sit at your, your desk or your couch and your console or your PC and you dive into something deep. I haven't been able to do that yet, so hopefully I get to do that this weekend. But I kind of just want to jump into these topics because this is insane what's happening right now. Like, the whole industry is kind of unfolding in front of our eyes where I don't know about you guys, but every like kind of thing they talked about in that FTC and the closing case and the arguments, I swear to you, I felt like I was on Twitter. I felt like it was like a Twitter argument going on with these people. I felt like it was like, no, but we have these exclusives. Like it was kind of insane. I was like, dude, all the fanboys that are going back and forth, like, the Sony ponies and the Xbots and all that. Like, I was like, this is what it feels like. I feel like they're just going back and forth, and to the point where I was like, I really do think like the FTC are they like working for Sony at this point? Like, what is happening? And it got to the point where the judge was like, this is a detriment to Sony, but we care about the consumer. That's the point it got to, because I was sitting there because I've been working all day, so I kind of just had it on in the background, just listening as I was working. And I just like, it's like a podcast, right? At this point, I'm just listening to it in the back, and I'm like, yo, like, what is happening here? Like, what's going on with everything that's happening with the FTC? And I feel like what Shady said, like, we're basically becoming lawyers. We're all going to the bar. Hogs Law is going to have a little competition now, and it's getting to me, it's getting kind of ridiculous at this point. And I know that we've been in kind of like this cave mind where all of us are very pro like Xbox. But I do have to admit that, the FTC had some points where I was like, I don't know where this is going. Like, and it wasn't like crazy big points, but it was enough for me to be like, maybe the judge looks at this and goes, that's a good point. Maybe I am going to give them this injunction. So I don't know. Like, I want to go to Shady first about this because I talked to Hargeet like all day about it. But Shady, what do you think, man? Have you been paying attention to it? I know you've been kind of like looking at the writings and all that, like people posting on Twitter and all that. What do you think, man?
Yeah, most of my stuff comes from Florian Mueller on Twitter, and I follow his tweet thread there, and then I was listening to the Twitter spaces he was putting up afterwards to, break it down for the layman, if you will. And I understand that he comes off as at least pro for the deal. Like, he thinks the deal should go. So, if that's his bias, so be it. But he's in favor of it going through. And it sounds like the FTC, which a lot of us have been saying for a long time, they came to their conclusions first, and now they're scrambling for any type of argument and evidence to back up their already established, narrative, which was no, regardless. And they didn't do any investigating first. It sounds like their investigating was done in Pony Twitter Spaces. The arguments are obscene.
In Jim Ryan's office?
Like most of them seem to boil down to, but what about PlayStation? Like the company? Not so much the even PlayStation consumers, but the company, which I don't like to see from an organization that is kind of set up to protect the consumers from these corporations, not the other way around. So it's just been an absolute gong show. We've gotten a lot of, stuff that was supposed to be redacted, different types of acquisitions that Microsoft has been eyeing up for a couple of years and measuring to see if that's what they want to do. We got some emails from Jim Ryan demanding that they get all Bethesda games, all Activision games, no more day one in Game Pass. Otherwise, he's upset kind of stuff. Like, it's all over the place with no logic, with no reality, in my opinion. And more than I'm a fan of Xbox, I'm a fan of logic and reality, man. I don't like when stuff like this goes way so far left. And it's now illogical. It makes no sense. There's no legal ground to stand on. There's no reasoning for this type of backlash other than it's one of the richest companies in the world making one of the biggest acquisitions ever. Like, that's really it. That put up a lot of flags, and some of these regulators already made up their mind the second they heard it. Nope, we don't like that the second they heard it, man. Whereas the other 40 that have already given it the green light clearly did their homework, looked at what was what. Yeah, it's going to be a tougher time for Sony, but that's not the point. They're so dominant that a tougher time for Sony is hardly going to put them out of business at all. We heard stuff about Microsoft saying we could spend Sony out of the industry. A lot of people flipping out at that. The key word being could. I could do a lot of things. I could say a lot of things. Like, Could means a lot in that context. They could do that. They didn't. They're not.
Yeah, and the funny thing is it's you're talking Matt Booty, right? Like Matt Booty's email was doing that. By the way, Matt Booty is an assassin.
Is that what the fan base, the Sony fan base wants? Compete the same way we do? Instead of spending $70 billion to buy something, imagine Microsoft used that $70 billion to money hat every single AAA third-party game. Year to 2-year exclusive for every game for the next 2 years. Sony has nothing but first-party now and indies. Would they rather that? We found out how much they paid for Ninja Theory. It was like 112 million, I think, 120-ish million.
Yeah, 117 million.
Would everyone rather they went out and bought 60 studios of that size, worth about the same, just buy 60 more studios? Just because it's a big name and it's Call of Duty and stuff, it's got a lot of people's, they're freaking out. But at the same time, these aren't the only games in the industry. They aren't the only thing that people play. It's not the only reason that people make decisions to buy consoles. Exclusives themselves aren't the only reason people look at when they buy consoles. You can measure the sales. Exclusive games generally sell 10 to 20% of the audience that has the console.
They said 15. Sony's is Sony's first party. It's 15%. Yeah.
You can't tell me that some guy who literally bought his PlayStation because that's where his friends play and he wants to get that exclusive mode and some skins in Call of Duty. That's why he bought it. Just because he happens to also have Spider-Man doesn't mean he bought the console for Spider-Man. It's just available on the console that he happened to buy for other reasons. So, I just think this whole thing is preposterous. The exclusive content one way or another, I don't like it. I'm with Satya. I wish every game was everywhere. That would incentivize these companies to make the best damn console, the best hardware, best machine possible, as opposed to getting away with crap like what Nintendo pulls because they know they have a lot of IP that has a lot of nostalgia and they sell like crazy. So they don't need to go out and compete with power. It empowers Nintendo to put out weak shit when you have really, really powerful exclusives that you can lean back on. I wish every game was everywhere. I'm with Satya, man. But he didn't make the rules of the industry. Neither did I. They're playing with what was gone down. And Sony's been up to this since day one in the business, man. They ran Sega out of the industry. They wish they could have done it to Nintendo. I guarantee it. And they've tried their damnedest with Xbox, doing it financially in a way that works for Sony. And because they've done it for as long as they have, their market, they just have way more consoles. They dominate the consoles so hard. The video game space, surrounds Sony, that when Microsoft goes for these same deals, it costs them 2, 3, 4 times the money. Those types of deals at the end of the day today aren't going to pull your average PlayStation gamer aside to go jump into a new ecosystem. It just doesn't make any sense. So instead, they're buying the farm. I just don't see any arguments. I've never seen a single argument from anybody that tells me this is a bad deal for gamers. It's available in more places. These people, these gamers, a lot of gamers anyways, PlayStation gamers specifically, seem to think that if it's bad because they don't get it. PlayStation is not the only place to play games. If you can stream these on any device, any screen, you can play it on Xbox, you can play it on Nintendo, guaranteed deals with all these other companies to let them use it and stuff. That's way more gamers than just PlayStation. They just see it as a game they don't get to play, so it's clearly bad for gamers. And it's you're not the only gamers out there. I guarantee you. Count me amongst the ones that are essentially not PlayStation gamers. I've never been a fan of the company. I've owned all the consoles, or they've been around me, and I barely touched them. The PS2 was the last one I put in any serious amount of time into, and the second the Xbox and GameCube came out, that thing collected dust or played DVDs. I'm just not a fan of the brand myself, but yeah, man.
You made some good, you made some good points, and that's what I like about it is that's that was you went for a little bit on that, and that was everything you were saying made sense. That's the whole point of this is that. Yeah, Sony's not the only platform out there. Nothing is going on where it's this is anti-competitive. And I think that North America, FTC, I think it's a little bit of the back end political shit, which I don't really care to talk about. But I think that Sony dominates so much in other markets that the EU was it's kind of dumb if we don't allow this because they have 96% of the market in Europe. They have this much percent of this over here, and it's I think it was just kind of yeah, sure. But in America or North America. And where the FTC lies is where it's you're actually closer than we think, but it still doesn't give them any room to call it anti-competitive. And the funny thing is that the Judge Corley, who wants to know, she called God of War the Thor game. because she was like, that game, she's like, I keep calling it the Thor. They're like God of War. And she's like, yes, that one. She's like, wouldn't Call of Duty on Game Pass pressure Sony to put God of War Ragnarok on PlayStation Plus? She's like, I don't understand why Sony won't make this PlayStation Plus subscription better if their worry is Game Pass. She said it will make them drive competition. Hargeet, what do you think about that? Like, I feel like that's a good point. And that's something like, it's a funny thing. It's like, that's what we've been saying for years, like as gamers. But Hargeet, I want to get your take on it because we've been listening to this pretty much all day, man.
Yeah, it's I heard it while she was saying that. It was pretty cool that she's coming up with all the things that they don't understand about the gaming industry. And it's like, well, wait a minute, aren't they supposed to be prepared for this? But she's been doing that throughout. Like, there's times when she's like telling them about, well, what about this? Well, why aren't you thinking about this aspect? And why aren't you thinking about that aspect? Well, why is this part not that way? What about this competitor? Why isn't this good? Why isn't that? And you're like, dude, they have no good answers. They're just like speculative, like, oh, well, because, we don't know that, putting a game on Nintendo would actually be better for the consumer. I mean, it could be worse. How?
Yep.
Well, we don't have any metrics that say putting a game on another platform would really be better. What?
Yeah, and they gave and Microsoft's lawyers, I think her name was Beth. She was like, we do have that. It's called Minecraft. And Minecraft, they make more money. She basically admitted they make more money Minecraft going to multiple platforms than it does on the Xbox. That they make more money of it. And they're like, it's just logical sense. Go ahead, Hargeet.
I think her point was that when they sell those games on a PlayStation or a Nintendo, instead of getting 100% of the profits, they're now sharing it with their rivals. So why would they not do a cost analysis? Yeah, and Microsoft's basic opinion was money's money. We don't get all of it, but we get most of it, and we're going to work this out because it's better for gamers, and we make a ton of cash. Not all the cash, but a ton. Like, that was a great answer.
It's a very simple economics thing, right? If I have 130 million consoles, and I only have, 20 million? Okay, I might lose 1 million, but I might gain 5 over there. For me, that's a big win, right? Okay, I only get 70% of 5. But here, I get 100% of 1. What number is bigger? It's simple. You put it on the freaking 130 million consoles. Like, it's brain dead obvious. Anyway. But these are the arguments that the FTC is making. And I'm like, dude, and she's poking holes in it. So I assume she understands. But again, like Hogue said, can't account for crazy. We don't know. We have no idea where this is going to go. But like all the stuff that's been happening throughout this whole thing, it's been pretty nuts. It started bad with Jim Ryan's email, and then it kept going. And Jim Ryan's testimony was bad. Google's testimony was bad. It just kept going. Like all of their witnesses just destroyed their narratives. And I don't even know what to say. This whole trial has been like nuts. Like I was saying, I think it was last episode, right? I think they're trying to throw this case, but. Maybe not. Maybe they're just this incompetent. Maybe that's just it. Maybe they really are this dumb.
Yeah.
And like many of the things they're saying, I'm like, dude, I wish I was there to just tell them, here's the example of that. They were looking for an example of a multi-game, multi-console, multiplayer game that's been purchased that's big. I'm like, that just happened. Bungie was just bought. Did you not realize that just happened?
They couldn't give an example. They said that they couldn't. The Microsoft was trying to get them to get an example. Sorry, the cameras are messing up on OBS. Like they're just blank right now, and I can't get them to come up. But whatever. What they're saying is that they can't give an example of a multi-plat game. Microsoft asked them for a multi-plat game that ended up going exclusive. Where did that happen? And they can't give one example because Sony themselves bought Bungie and are keeping it multi-platform because it's a big multi-platform game. And they're like, this is the same argument with Call of Duty. And then they also brought up like all this stuff about, we don't, the FTC literally said, we don't understand why Jim Ryan or Mr. Ryan was not as upset about the Call of Duty exclusivity or Starfield exclusivity.
No, Starfield. Yeah,
Starfield exclusivity not being anti-competitive. And the judge was like, yes, of course not, because he's doing the same thing. Like she's like, because they're doing the same thing. So it's like it's common sense. So it's just like putting it all together, like I get like these lawyers, like to me, I feel like these lawyers were, like we said last week, were given a job.
Yeah.
Here's the job. Go do your job, and that's it. Like, and they're doing it at the best that they have, right? Because you're like, what are you gonna do?
More to them, because like, okay, Call of Duty sells say 25 million copies, right?
Mhm.
Pokemon, is that an exclusive? How many million copies does that sell? It sold bloody 20 million copies in 6 weeks. It's on one platform. Is that anti-competitive? Sony doesn't own that IP. They just struck a deal with them.
Nintendo actually doesn't even own Pokemon either. A lot of people think they do, but they don't. It's a third-party company, third-party IP that only hits Nintendo, sells like gangbusters, like crazy, every single year, like crazy, and that's fine. It's all good.
Calling that out and saying, "Oh my God, Nintendo evil!" Like, no, nobody cares. It's fine. Go buy it.
Especially if Nintendo's not even in this market, Hargeet. They don't compete. They're in their own market. Right. Remember, they have a 100% monopoly in their own market with their own games that are selling 20+ million a year. Jesus, someone shut that company down. Clearly, gamers are being abused. Oh my God,
it's so terrible, dude. Like the whole.
It's not even just that. And the funny thing is that the whole time gamers are watching this, like, what the hell is going on? And I've had some people reach out, some people I was in a party with that were like, I'm just sick of it, like them acting like they know what they're talking about. Yeah, people, we all disappeared on camera. Something's going on. Like Discord just absolutely shut it down. I can't see Hargeet. Everybody, like, it's just blanked out. So sorry. Like, no, it's not you. It's something with Discord because I can't see myself. It doesn't matter.
But like to that point, one of these games, if I point right, it is that one, Overwatch, is on Switch today. It's a multiplayer massive game from Activision that's on freaking Switch today. So you can't tell me they can't do it. They 100% can do it. It's up to them to decide that they want to put Call of Duty on there as well.
Yeah.
Right? What's the big deal? Like, so the Switch can 100% play that. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And the funny thing is that the whole thing is nuts because, like, as you're watching or listening to this, I guess, like, you can't stream this, right? But you're just getting, like, tidbits across the internet. Like, when they're talking about, like, Game Pass and stuff, like, you hear the court, like, kind of talk about it. Like, they're like, okay, well, she's like, the judge is like, okay, well, you're giving us an option, basically. Like, Game Pass is an option to get your game where you can pay $60, $70, whatever it is. They're like, PlayStation doesn't do that. You just keep it on here. And then the judge literally went into PC gaming and was like, doesn't everyone have a PC? And they're like, well, no. And she's like, we just went through a pandemic. She's like, there's statistics that show everybody bought a PC. And not like a $200 one, but like $1,000 to $1,500 PC. They're like, wouldn't that detriment like Call of Duty or detriment like Xbox? But they could just play it there. I don't know. Like she was, it's like so stupid. Man. It was so, yeah, exactly.
The FTC was like, they had no ands, ifs, or buts. If you were going to play games on a PC, you have to go out of your house right now, no matter what, and spend $1,500 US. That's a minimum. $1,500 to play games on PC. What games? At what resolution? At what frame rate? At whose preference? Any of that. It's bullshit.
Yeah,
it's not a guaranteed $1,500. It depends on what the person wants. If they want to play overdrive ray tracing mode in Cyberpunk, yeah, it's going to be a little more than that. If you have nothing, but like she said, most people actually have a gaming or just any PC. Whether or not that can play the newest, hottest game, who knows? But many of these PCs, if they've been bought in the last 5 years, can play a good amount of the industry's games as is. Yep. They come with that.
That's why they have low specs like that, because
so they don't need to be $1,500. I thought that was obscene.
Well, no, not even the FTC. It was $1,500
minimum.
Well, it was not even the FTC. They're saying like, oh, you need specific this. Like, you need specific this. The judge was saying, like, yeah, people bought like, she was saying their statistics that people bought like $1,000 to $1,500 PCs. Like, yeah, it's not the top of the line. It's like even that you don't need it. Like that's the whole point of their thing. And the other one was like, Microsoft even brought up, like, you talk about exclusives or putting stuff down, money hiding. They brought up Final Fantasy and how they're like, we lost out on that game. Like, we don't have it. Our players and consumers don't get it on Xbox. And the Jim Ryan testimony, like it was like kind of insane. Like, he almost hurt the FTC more than he helped them. Like, your principal witness, who's Jim Ryan, who you're defending, whatever, like, basically just kind of threw you under the bus. And he's like, I don't find this anti-competitive. And it's like, of course he went up there and said that. Or he sent the video, whatever he did. It's like, of course he fucking did that. Because he's doing the same practices. He's fucking things up. Like, that is the whole point of this. And I'm kind of, and it wasn't just this. Like, there's a lot of stuff like that's going on with this that it's almost kind of insane. Where they're talking
Jim
like
Ryan's
it's like
Phil
what
there?
the fuck? Yeah, Jim Ryan's emailed that. Not to mention like
he told Phil, he's like, if you degrade the games at all, if you take exclusive content, skins, or a mode, or if you timed delay it, if it comes out on PlayStation a year later, it might as well not come out at all. He kills his own argument that he's been doing, that his company's been up to for 25 years.
Yep.
Paying for timed exclusivity, timed modes, exclusive skins, early access, yada yada's like, and in his own email to Phil, he's like, if you even make this come out with less content or delayed, it's tantamount to not releasing at all. It's that detrimental, Phil. That's what you're doing to us.
Doesn't want any game, but anyways.
How does Phil not turn that back? Like, there's a reason I'm not a top executive, because my language would be obscene, man. My emails would be fucking off the chain. Like, there's no way I could keep my composure if I was told that by Jim Ryan. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And I would have just exploded.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing is.
Zalker,
go ahead, Hargeet.
That exact thing. Like, I would reverse that and say, all right, Jim, here's my counter proposal. You want Call of Duty? Fine, you can have Call of Duty. I want every Marvel IP that you have for your own console, day and date and Game Pass. Bring it over, buddy, and then I'll talk about giving you Call.
Well, it's not even that. It's Final Fantasy. Like Final Fantasy. Like the funny thing,
right?
like the only reason I don't even know if you guys saw. Like the only reason why
Phil can go talk to Square, right? Phil can go talk to Square and give them some money and get some games. That's fine.
Yeah.
I want your games. You want my game? Fine. I want your games.
Yeah,
So
I get it.
You have to give you my games? No.
Hargeet, you're pretty low, by the way.
Fine.
You're pretty low, Hargeet.
Bring it over, buddy.
Hargeet, you're pretty low, buddy. I don't know if you went away from your mic. But
Okay, I can kind of get closer to the mic. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. Okay, so
all right,
I'm going to say this. I think
the first thing,
go
they're
ahead.
treating this like a horizontal merger. They really are. They're treating this like a horizontal merger. They are not treating it like a vertical merger. There's
like
nothing here.
Nintendo, right? Something like that
Exactly.
is what you mean.
There's
yeah,
nothing here, right? It's not like I'm taking away a competitor. I'm taking content. That's it.
Yep.
This is normal. It happens all the time. What the heck are they talking about? If Disney bought Fox, that content is now owned by Disney. Does that kill everybody else? No, it does not. It's okay. That's the way it is. And this is a very small segment of freaking... There's 5 million freaking games out there. 5 million.
How many stories have we heard where big like studio leads, they've all left. The guy from Playground Games who made the last Forza Horizon, he left with a bunch of his cronies to go make another studio. How many stories did we hear of that just in the last 12 months? Since this deal was announced, how many big industry veterans have taken their big pool of cash that they've earned over their careers and walked away with their reputations and to hire a new team and make new games? And any one of these games, any one of them could, in theory, topple Call of Duty because of it's all just trends and what's currently hot now. We can't predict. Who the hell would have guessed that Among Us, a year after it released, would have become one of the biggest games that year?
Yeah.
A year after it's out, and no one gave a shit. And then the right influencer at the right time decided to play it one night, and boom! One of the biggest IPs overnight for a year-old indie. That sucker's raking hundreds of millions all of a sudden as an IP. No one can guess this stuff. And we have, a dozen at least new studios basically being formed since this deal was announced. Minimum. I can't name them all, of course.
There's way more. There's way more than a dozen, man. And that's the thing. Like, that was a good point about the Among Us thing. Like, what you were saying about the Among Us is like a perfect example. Like, we don't know. And that's something that the Microsoft was saying is like, we don't know. Like, nobody knows. You can't say that what's his face? Bobby Kotick doesn't think cloud is anything. He's literally like, I don't agree with it. They're like, well, why would you agree to the acquisition? He's like, I don't agree to the philosophy.
He thinks the devices are going to
take over. He thinks devices what Hargeet was saying, that phones are going to take over because the mobile devices are just going to be bigger. But that doesn't even matter. The whole point is that this whole it's very reactionary. So like Phil, when he was up there, one of the reasons why, basically why he made Starfield and Bethesda games exclusive is because they were close to buying Square Enix. Very, very close. And then he got wind that that Sony was going to make basically Starfield and all those games exclusive. And he pivoted and killed the Square Enix deal basically, or put it on hold and was like, nope, and went and bought ZeniMax because it was going to be detrimental.
Blood between Square and Microsoft. Square feels slighted because they win.
That might be it,
on some American.
And I think that's why they shed their Western studios, because it was going to be all of it. We were going to get like the Crystal Dynamics and all that stuff as part of Microsoft. It was going to be. But oh well, it is what it is, right? I don't know if that's still something they can recover from.
We talked last week. They're looking to unload a couple things. Maybe they want to get rid of.
Well, I think once this is done, I think once this is done, if it's get passed or not passed, it's going to change the landscape of gaming either way. And speaking of people that are here, Lord Starkiller, you want to get that super chat, Shady, real quick?
Yeah, man, Lord Starkiller, Xbox Series X01 with the $5 even. Next up for the FTC, suing Nintendo for having a 100% monopoly in their low-end market. Honestly, though, and the FTC's legal reasoning makes absolutely no sense. It doesn't, and that's my overall problem. Like, as an Xbox gamer, I play most of my shit on the Xbox, not PC, not mobile. This $70 billion deal does very little for me. It gives me Call of Duty each year in Game Pass, and every 7-8 years I get a Diablo in there. Like, so far, with Activision's and Blizzard's output in the past, if it mirrors that, if they don't start changing shit up, if they don't start pulling teams off of COD, if they don't start making new Hexens and all that kind of jazz.
You've already heard from Phil. That's what he wants to do.
I'm just saying.
He's like, I want the teams to go make other games. Right?
I know, but I'm not
just saying
for this deal at all. Like, I'm just not blindly for it, but I think that it's going to go through. And the reason I think it's going to go through is because it just makes sense. It's reality. It's logic. There's no legal... can I to say no, and that's my biggest problem with this. Is just
I don't know if I'm
Hargeet, can you turn off and start your camera back, because mine came back now on Discord.
Right,
can you just turn it on and off?
Do that.
So we can get that going and then turn it back on.
And just a reminder to anyone else in the chat, if you guys also want to become a part of the show, the super chats are open. We will read every one of them as soon as we find a break in what we're doing. Try and get to them as soon as we can, as opposed to letting them, pile up. But that is a way you can certainly become a part of the show. Otherwise, we certainly, appreciate everybody being here, active in the chat, talking to each other. But that's
the chat's going really quick, so I'm assuming like a lot of. I think maybe that stuff is over, but it doesn't matter. This whole thing has just been kind of like, and Shady, you put up a good point when you were talking about like maybe this is why Square Enix is the way they are. They obviously divested and just got rid of everything in their West, and they feel annoyed. Like, hey, we had this deal going, and then you left, basically showing. Because let's be real, like I know Final Fantasy is huge. I know Square Enix has like good franchises, but when it comes to Bethesda, when it comes to ZeniMax, that is like it's almost to me at least like as Halo is and how these other things are. Oblivion and all those things, Bethesda is like kind of like the heart of what Xbox was when it first came out, because they helped Bethesda bring all their stuff over, and it's a huge thing.
RPGs,
dude, shooters, boomer shooters, whatever you want to call it. Go ahead, Hargeet.
As long as they stayed third-party normal, like Bethesda, I would say they're actually kind of equivalent. I can understand the mechanics of saying, because that was what their decision path was. We could take Zenny or we could take Square Enix, right? Yeah. Assuming and this was with their Western
and they're desperate for Japanese content, keep in mind.
Right, and so...
content, desperate for that Japanese content.
But you also can't discount God Howard, right? So that was a big plus on this side. You get id Tech. And on this side, you get the Final Fantasy stuff. You get Kingdom Hearts. You get Dragon Quest. They also get a whole bunch of little smaller games that they make that are very, very good. Some are not so good, but it doesn't matter. And then you had the Western studios with a cool set of IPs and studios they're working with, right? They have both of them. I think are making games for Microsoft right now, right? So that's something they wanted to kind of look at, right? So it was a good toss up. It was that deal of Jim Ryan to go try to get. You got Deathloop. He got Ghostwire Tokyo,
and he was
like,
circling.
Now they're gonna go after Starfield. Like, no.
Like he said, it was agreed. He said it was gonna kill him. He said it was like basically Phil Spencer's like, listen, we can't do that. Like that they're third place, and they've been third place every single generation. It's like we can't afford to lose a Starfield or something like that. So for them to buy it was reactionary, and it was almost like spiteful. Where it almost sounded kind of like, and this is why it's exclusive, because they're basically doing it to us. And I get like what's happening, and that sucks. Like Satya was on the stand, and he's like, I don't like exclusives. Like the man's a businessman. He's like, I don't like them. It doesn't do anything for us. It's better business sense to go everywhere, because that's what Microsoft did. People don't understand that. Microsoft went open source on a lot of stuff and made way more money and realized, fine, we'll put stuff on Apple. They put stuff on Apple's platform. They don't care.
Apple?
Yeah.
They don't care. They put it everywhere. Google, they have it like Android
it
phones,
goes
fine.
literally everywhere. And that's why Satya was like, we're not a fan of the word exclusive. The only thing that's happening is that Sony's doing it, and we can't dictate the market at third place like Sony and Nintendo can. And that is right there, the whole crux of this whole thing. And that's what's happening. And to me, I think there was a lot other like arguments instead of Call of Duty. Like I think the numbers came out that, I don't know, I think it was like 62% of people that play PlayStation don't actually play Call of Duty.
I've never played Call of
I've
Duty,
never played Call of Duty. And some of those people, the judge
She
brought
let
up.
that slip. That was supposed to be sealed.
That was supposed to be sealed, but like
the judge let that slip.
There's a lot of stuff out there that just came out on social media that I've seen that it's been typed out. People are like, oh, this. Like, she even brought up the argument of like, hey, how are you going to differentiate people that play 5 hours of Call of Duty a year to people that pay 200 plus hours? She's like, I don't think the people that play 5 hours are going to go buy an Xbox. Those are the ultimate casual players.
A huge chunk.
Yeah, and it's a huge one.
Well, they rank up to 20 or 30 on multiplayer. They beat the campaign, and then something else comes along, and they go and they play that. That's even a lot of hardcore COD guys that buy it every single year. They're hardcore gamers. Yeah. They're just not hardcore COD gamers, where that's all they play. That's all they stream. That's all they do. That is a minority of the Call of Duty audience.
Well, I mean, one of the biggest like hardcore guys we have I might be speaking for him, but like Rand's one of the most hardcore gamers we know. He plays the Call of Duty campaigns and then kind of just moves on. Like he's like, I'm not gonna stick and play the multiplayer. Like that's what Rand does, and that's his thing.
Players don't
Most
only
people
play
do that.
Call of Duty a majority of the time. That's
yeah,
not how it works.
But the 62% thing is kind of huge because then it goes into like numbers and who's gonna do this and what's gonna be that, and then to me, I gotta say this, I was wrong about somebody that works at Xbox, and his name is Matt Booty. I like want to go shake the dude's hand because Matt Booty is a fucking like silent assassin G. His emails are some of the most badass, hardcore. Like he's just a badass man. Like his stuff is like, we're gonna beat them out of the business. We're gonna do this. Why not do this? We're giving them. Why the fuck would we give them our content so they can make money on it to basically take games away from us? That's literally what he was saying. Basically, is that 70% they get and the 30% we get from selling our games on their platform, that 70%, they're going to use it to take games away from our gamers. That is, dude, Matt Booty, hats off to you. I talked some shit because I thought the first party stuff wasn't going well. I see after this year it's going pretty decent. Hey, man, in all those emails, I'm like, yo, you a G. But I want to get back to the chat really quick. Thank you guys so much. We have so many people, just like the chat's flowing. I saw the super chat. It flew away. Did you get that, Shady?
Yeah, man. It's from Meat Puppet 007 with the $5 even. He says, who are we kidding? If Microsoft offered Square money to buy them, they'd take it. In the meantime, can someone get Nintendo to use better hardware?
Savage.
Yeah, that'd be nice, man.
You know,
but
the reason Nintendo doesn't... go ahead, sorry, Shady.
I was just going to say Nintendo is allowed to get away with what they get away with because every one of their games sells between like almost 20 to 40 million, and that's it.
Or
like
50 million.
Yeah, they're exclusive games. If those games were forced to be everywhere, let's pretend in a mythical world where Mario and Zelda were on everything, Nintendo, if they wanted you in their ecosystem and not Microsoft's or Sony's, would have to make a much better piece of hardware. Like that, it would prevent them from leaning on their exclusive titles that everyone wants to be able to release lazy hardware.
Look, the reason they're in this position is because of Sony, right? So normally when they were making consoles, they were all for profit, right?
Yep.
But Sony came in and did we'll take a little bit of a hit and give you something better that is not actually at the price that we're charging, right? And that's not something everybody can sustain, right? Sony could do that because, they have Sony money. And Nintendo, this is how they make money.
It was harder for Nintendo and Sega to do it, yep.
They couldn't do it, right? And so they're like, okay, we'll try that. And then it failed, right? Because the other thing that Sony did was take their money and say, oh, hey, developer, we want you to make that game for us and not put it over there. Oh, and hey, publisher, we want to make those games
for doing that stuff with like Tomb Raider 2, Resident Evil 2, a bunch of games, man. They just beat the Saturn down so bad, and then Sega, of course,
and Nintendo
themselves.
But either way, both of them.
They beat both of them,
and everybody else
were doing it huge, throwing around their big corporate cash in a time where Sony electronics across the board were seen as the top. They didn't have true competitors, in TV and phones and in stereos and Discmans and absolutely everything.
Exactly.
In everything. Now we've got, the Samsungs and the LGs and the other phones and stuff, that Amazon phones or Apple phones, whatever the fuck. There's just way more competition, and Sony is no longer the number one. Like, they rely on PlayStation now versus in the past when they were able to toss around their.
They still have Sony Pictures, but I guess all the movies it's kind of floundering a bit. But
massively profitable. Same with their music. They make money,
but at the time it was printing money, right? And so
absolutely
you had the music side.
Microsoft is now and is using their big corporate money to help build their gaming community.
Like, it just kept going, right? And they made Blu-ray and DVD and all that. Like, there's so much stuff that they were doing, right? So, but as far as Sony, they came into the market and they just took over and pushed everybody out. And now it's hard for somebody to come into that market unless they're big. They have to be big enough to do what Sony did, right? Nintendo survived, thankfully, because they had the handhelds, right? They had the Game Boy and all that stuff. And that was still
the Game Boy Advanced and the handhelds,
right? Thankfully, because they had that, and they had IP that was really good, and third parties would still put their games on those consoles, and so they would make money, and so they could sustain. So they decided to say, okay, well, look, we made a much more powerful console with the N64 than the PlayStation. That didn't work for us. So
same with the GameCube. Again. The GameCube was the last
was more powerful.
Power. It was on par with the.
It did not work for them, right? And they even caved on the cartridge and said, "We'll put a disc in there." Fine. That didn't work for them, right? It still failed. And they're like, "We're done. We're not playing that high power game anymore because we have to base it on making profits. Because otherwise, we can't make enough money, right?" So they went, "We're gonna make a low-powered machine that we can sell at a reasonable price that's gonna be profitable for us at launch." That's what they did.
Can I backlash to Matt Bodie's comment about we could, spend them out, stuff like that, how aggressive, and people reacted as if
that's why I said Matt Bodie deserves a handshake.
That's what has to happen.
I think that's
what has to happen.
You even say that. Meanwhile, on record, I forgot who the guy is at Sony because he's not in my picture here, but they're on record saying we targeted Microsoft from day one. We were ruthless, he says. I'm not of the mentality anymore, but at the time, it was life or death as far as I was concerned. We had this expression in our business meetings. Kill them right at the start and take no prisoners. When it came to Microsoft, it worked at least for the PS2. It continued to work on the PS3 and the PS4, and it'll probably continue to work on the PS5 because we drove piles under the strength of the PlayStation equals games concept. At that stage, when we were getting ready to take Microsoft on. And that's the reasoning. When anytime a game skips PlayStation, you have this, millions of people acting as if this is the worst thing that has ever happened. Because Sony went out of their way since day one to make sure that they were money-hatting as many games as possible, timed or not, to make sure that everything constantly came to PlayStation. If you were looking for anything exclusive at all, it was always over here. They brought this on themselves by acting this way for 20 plus years and then getting greedy as shit when it came to Bethesda, something that is way too big. Jim Ryan said it to Phil himself in his own email. If you make these games even timed, you don't even bother releasing them. You might as well not. You've killed the game.
And what did Phil do? He's like, all right, fuck it. They're not coming. They're not coming, bitch.
He's trying to do that. He's in the background trying to lock down Starfield. Yeah. And he wonders why Microsoft was like, Jesus, because that's the truth. It is the truth.
Yeah, and let me get it. Let me say some stuff about the
Stray is coming out, bro. Give me 1 more second. Like, Stray is about to drop August 10th. Everyone's super hyped for that. It's a year-old game. No one gives a shit.
Yeah.
The only thing that's going to save that over here is if we get it in Game Pass also. Anything that's a year old is a year-old, man. This is gaming. That stuff's old news. People still play them. I'm not saying they don't, but not at the level, man. So if he's going to try and do that kind of crap, you can't be surprised when Microsoft reacts the same way. Like, dude, you're going to kill us. You will kill us.
So I gotta jump in really quick because I saw Lethal's thing. I don't really look at the numbers of how many are watching, but he says we have over 910 or 20 people watching. So I got to say thank you, everybody. And we don't say this often because I suck. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I appreciate you guys for joining us. We're just kind of venting almost about like this FTC thing and how bad it was. People are like, Zalker, get a word in, bud, because I know you guys have a lot of passion for it, and I just like feeding off of it, man. I like you guys getting your stuff in. Today. So I will say this though. There was like a turnstile of like lawyers that were going on the FTC. Like it was one person, then another, and it was like they were trying to explain themselves and kind of fumbling over themselves. Now, I know that we can go back and forth about what the FTC did with this, but at the end of the day, it's basically just about basic questioning and basic knowledge and incentives that Microsoft has. They've gone under oath They've even made it like seem almost like Microsoft might break that oath, and the Microsoft lawyer was like, "This is like obscene that you think that Satya and Phil will go up there in oath and say things to you, judge, and then they'll go back on that word." And the only thing that I will say as an Xbox fan is that while everything looks great, that it looks like the FTC is probably not going to get what they need, and the deal's hopefully closed by next week after 4th of July.
That's not happening, by the way. They had to push it out because they need to get some documents in. So last I caught, it was something like the 12th is a deadline. So it would probably be like that at that time frame or something along those lines.
Okay.
I don't know if there's more in some of the tweets out there, but
yeah, okay. So if they push it out, that's fine. All I know is that if this is the end of that, where it's like finally we're getting towards the end, I don't care if it closes or anything, but like what I'm saying is everybody needs to temper what's going to happen because you just can't account for a lot of shit. There could be one thing that they don't like, and then they give them that injunction. There could be one thing that they don't like, and then bam, bam, bam. Like even Hosts Law, who is very well versed, dude's a lawyer, dude's very smart, has gone on YouTube, has multiple videos that have gone crazy viral because of how good he is at explaining this stuff. Even he was like, it's probably a little less than 50%, but, you just never know with the courts. And it's true. We just never know. And that's the only thing I will say is that pretty much on every turn when it comes to this whole deal, every single turn that I saw the FTC get pushed back and questioned by the judge like a lot, to the point where it was like she was trying to like bring logic into it, and FTC was trying to say stuff, but she was always poking holes in their logic. The only one that I saw, bro, that I thought like, okay, FTC is saying some shit and she's latching onto it, was the cloud stuff, which is what the EU was a little worried about, which the CMA was a little bit worried about, which most people were worried about because it's an untapped market. That's the only one where she was like, okay, noted. And she would say that, and it's like, okay, like that is my only restraint from this, is like, it's a slam dunk. It's over. Nothing's over until the 12th. Nothing is over. We have no idea what's going to happen. I think that this is like, looking at everything and all the logic poking and everything that's happening with the lawyers and the Call of Duty, I think they talked about Call of Duty way too much to make it like a big deal. And I think the lawyer poked a hole in that also, like about how many people are playing it and how much this and that. But when you look at how expensive games are, like this is the big thing for me. Google went up there and basically said, we had a 5-year plan to make AAA games, invest in studios, invest in this, and it failed because we underestimated the market and how much it cost to make games. And then you look at all of that, like Microsoft, when they joined, it was a lot cheaper to make games back then, but again, they put so much money in there. They got Halo, they got stuff like that. Now it's extremely expensive. Horizon Zero Dawn is like $202 million budget. I think Last of Us 2 was $220. So you
what
have to
doing,
make
man. That's like
well, dude. You got to think
170 million. Like,
well,
I get it,
it's a lot of people.
You're using the same software and hardware by and large to make these games.
Well, it's not about that, Shady. It's about the land.
You don't have to pay for food. You don't have to pay for all these other things in the world that suddenly get more expensive. Might be more for the rent of their building. Like
it's the building, but it's also the people, because it requires a lot more people than it requires licensing. And it's like that.
Teams, man. Horizon Zero Dawn was 200 people, and they say that
Horizon Zero Dawn was
200 employees.
No, 200 full-time employees.
And stuff like that. You get more.
It's a shit ton more contract,
man. So you're saying that any AAA game now, because we had Callisto Protocol at 170, Sony's games are allegedly running them upwards of 220. How much is Gears 6 going to cost? How much is Hellblade?
Well, if you factor in like, let's say like you factor in Gear 6, like them learning for 18 months, the UE5, like I think the coalition has about 300 full-time employees on their staff. Like that's a lot of people.
Of just teaching someone, they need to pay their salary. That's millions of dollars. But I mean, like, does it all add up at the end of the day to 200 million for every AAA game now? Is that?
I mean, I don't know about every single one. I think that it's close to that, because that's something that Sean Layden basically brought that up. Sean Layden brought that up, that it's becoming unsustainable. Like he was saying that before he left. He was saying that 4 years ago. And then I think this is what he was talking about. Like this is becoming unsustainable, where it's like, I don't know about this. And this is maybe why Sony was so ruthless, or like prioritizing so harsh on like who's going to be making AAA games versus AA games. And then there's also like I think to me, there's also the other aspect of like, yeah, they make a bunch of money off the system, but like Sony doesn't have like a multiplayer game like Xbox has multiple multiplayer games that gives them microtransactions. Sony gets them from third parties, which is great, but they don't have their own where they get maximum profit from it. So I also look at like the business aspect of that, where it's kind of, I just kind of think it's insane that all the stuff has become public. A lot of the stuff that people thought was true, but also not true. And I just have to say, man, like it's kind of, to me, it's a little weird that they're going through this whole process all because like the number one game they keep talking about is Call of Duty. And it's like that was the so annoying
Call
thing.
Of Duty since day one, man.
It is. Well, that's FTC. I wouldn't say anybody else. It was just the FTC that brought up Call of Duty a lot. It wasn't CMA. It wasn't EU. Those were more like they were thinking market-wise.
The reason I'm worried about the cloud being too much of a problem for Mike is because of COD. That game is too big, too popular, that if you're the only one that controls it, when it comes to cloud gaming, you're clearly going to have a monopoly.
Nobody's going to play on cloud.
Game. It's all because of Call of Duty. So by the own arguments of these regulators, as soon as this deal is done, Microsoft could go and buy virtually any other company with the exception of maybe Rockstar and 2K, because, I mean, sports games and GTA are the only other games that could almost be argued to be side by side with Call of Duty on popularity and money made.
Well, so this is the part that annoys me.
What
right?
Ubisoft game defines the industry of gaming? Is it Far Cry? Is that the reason we all play games? Like, I love Ubisoft, but they can't make the same argument for Ubisoft games that they have made for Call of Duty. And that's the reason they're making this, is the IPs that you're buying, the games that you're buying are too successful and too popular to be locked down by one person, just in case you make an exclusive one day and run the entire world out of business. It's obscene.
I mean, I get that point, but it's also like... go ahead, Hargeet. Go ahead.
So now, okay, that's cool. Is it a little game called Roblox? How much is that worth?
It jumped up
Billions, right?
like 100 something like million or whatever the hell it is.
No, not million. No.
Billions.
It IPO'd at 40 billion.
Yeah.
That one game, okay,
it's almost worth half as much as Sony.
Billion. Okay,
Yeah.
that's like more than Activision. Okay, so remember we're on 3 publishers here, right? It's Activision, Blizzard, and King. It's not one publisher. It's 3 publishers.
Yeah.
Roblox is more than all of them. It's just the way it is. Okay, it's one game. It's not even a whole bunch of games. One game. It's one game. EA is a bigger publisher than A, B, or K, right?
Yeah.
There are ways around this. It is what it is. Epic, Fortnite. How big is Epic? How big is that publisher?
Huge.
20, 30, 40 billion?
Built on their engine, right?
Like that's see, this is the thing. Like
primarily
I know,
running on one game.
like I do got to say that like it's like this whole like we've been on this topic for now like 50 minutes, and I get it's like the main thing going on. But it's by far the main thing, and a lot of people are like all over social media about it. But I just want this thing to be done with. I hope by like the next time we talk, which I don't think it's going to happen, right? You said the 12th.
No.
I hope that by the time we're all like, in a week or two, that we are able to move forward with this. I do feel like the judge was leaning towards being like, this is stupid, moving on kind of thing. But to her credit, I'm going to give the judge a lot of credit. She seemed pretty prepared. And she seemed like she was taking in the arguments and bringing like questions for answers, right? She wasn't just moving forward and making things like, I'm sure there was a lot of information flowing in her head where she was like the Thor game, whatever it's called, like little details like that I'm fine with. But overall, I got to say that it was done very professionally on both sides, aka Microsoft, aka the judge. But the third side, I don't feel like it was very professional. I just feel like it was almost like they were defending a lot of stuff that they didn't have a lot of prior knowledge on. And then for me, the icing on the cake was Jim Ryan going up there and basically saying, this isn't anti-competitive. And it's like, of course. So they moved on. And that's kind of like where I'm at, is that I want to talk now about kind of like the acquisition thing, which is like, well, go ahead, Hargeet.
The big one that you mentioned, though, was the cloud one. And Google was the big witness there.
Mm-hmm.
And Google, mistakenly, I guess, told them that no, we competed with Xbox and PlayStation and PC and Luna and what. So it wasn't just that cloud is its own thing. Cloud competes with all of it, so it's not a separate market.
Different delivery.
Yeah,
it's not a separate market.
It's not a separate market.
Wipes out the CMA, and it wipes out the FTC's argument that there's a separate market called cloud.
Yeah,
right.
And it's just that's the thing. Like everything is like, this is just another way. And she brought up Game Pass. This is another way. And the subscription, PlayStation Plus, it's another way to just be more competitive. That bugged
the hell out of me, because I don't think I heard this. The top subscriptions for gaming are not Microsoft or Sony.
Luna.
They're Apple and Amazon.
Yep.
Amazon Prime includes Prime Gaming, which is 180 million people.
Yeah.
Yep.
Apple Arcade is 40 million people.
Yeah.
Those are way bigger than either Sony or Microsoft. Why the heck aren't they
streaming
that up?
Both subscription services
Yeah, and I mean, Apple has always had also
What includes
Apple's
streaming?
always had a big market with like the mobile gaming, and this is what basically Microsoft was saying. Like, this is a big play for us to get into mobile gaming. Like, this is also to get into other thing. Like, they were
Another
like,
thing that bugged me.
and that's the other thing is that like they brought up. This is why I bring up the acquisitions, because if you look at the acquisition list, it shows you what Microsoft is trying to concentrate on, and they brought up
It's mobile.
they
PC,
they brought up
mobile,
the three top things that their
Yeah.
priorities are. Which number one is PC growth in North America with mobile. And then number two is like I think PC growth in Europe with mobile, and then third is console, and like I think mobile somewhere else.
APAC.
In APAC, thank you.
APAC,
So
yep,
they put out their things of like this is our main priorities of what we're trying to do and where we're trying to grow. Sarah Bond, Phil Spencer, a bunch of the people up there have said, hey, this is where our growth is. Like this is the big growth that we have coming is from PC, whatever. So it's like, of course, they're going to different avenues. And that's one thing that I think is kind of funny because we bring up the exclusivity, bring up the avenues, and Pete Hines' email, I don't know if you guys saw this one. Pete Hines brought up like, hey, can we get like this is an email to like Phil Spencer, this is an email to Xbox. Can we get a reason why Call of Duty's staying like multi-platform, but our games aren't? Because he brought up like Todd Howard is going to DICE soon for interviews, and if some journalist comes up and asks him like, why is it exclusive and this isn't, he's like, we need to have a response. It wasn't a thing where he was like, this is bad. It was like, dude, what's going on? Well, no, he was just saying like he's asking for a company. He's asking for a company message.
The reason literally is that
he's just
you
looking
guys
for an
don't
answer,
make
yeah.
Call of Duty type games. You don't make giant multiplayer, microtransaction ridden games that make billions a year. You make single player games by and large. That's why we've decided to take your stuff exclusive and not Call of Duty. Like simple. Pete Hines just asking stupid questions.
Well, I mean, I think he more like people took it like. See, this is the thing. People took it as like a negative. Like he hated it. I was like, I don't think he's. I don't think he took it as a negative. I don't think he was saying he hates it. I think he's looking for a communication thing, like a company thing. Like what do we say? Like that's it.
I tell a journal, so we're all on the same page. Really, is
exactly.
What it is, 'cause they didn't tell him, but that was the reason. You don't make Call of Duty. That's why.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense to us. Like to me, at least, it makes perfect sense. That's why we always said that like ESO, Elder Scrolls Online, Fallout 76 is going to stay multiplat. The game that's probably coming out for the new ZeniMax Online studio that's been working on a game for like 4 or 5 years now, their game that they haven't announced yet, that's going to be probably like a MMO on whatever the hell it is, they're probably going to be multiplat. It's going to be multiplat because they need more people on there. That's the whole point of those things is to drive microtransactions, drive people to be on it, and it's insane. And I do have to say, we're going to stop the show really quick here and say that somebody just told me that we got over 1,000 people watching at one point. So we hit 1,000. I got to say thank you guys so much for the support. That is fucking insane. Hit that like button.
This is only the 5th week.
This is only the 5th episode. 5 times a charm. I love it. And with that, we actually just got another super chat. Shady, you want to grab that?
We did from the one and only Face 23 Brooklyn.
I like it.
That was right on time.
PlayStation, but regardless of the judge decision, which could go either way, one side is going to be really salty.
Yes, they are.
And that's true. There's a lot of guys out there, a lot of gamers, a lot of fanboys, a lot of zealots that have their own identities wrapped around their own, brand of choice around this deal. I'm not huge proponent of the deal. If it goes through, cool. I think if it goes through, I'm going to celebrate more. My celebration will be more so sticking it to the ponies than it will be sticking it to the PlayStation brand. At the end of the day, I am pro multi-platform everything. If every game was everywhere, it would be heaven on earth. We'd have better systems, better services, better controllers, cheaper shit, because they want you to pick their ecosystem over the other. If everyone had the same games, they'd have to compete in different ways, which would be hardware, man, and price.
Well, hardware and platform. It'll be like there is going to be a lot of salt. I got to agree with Face. Like there is going to be no matter where it goes, no matter win or lose, it's going to be one side's going to be irritated, the other side. Like it is what it is, and it's just great. It's just going to be funny. So, like to me, it's going to be a funny thing. What do you think about that, Hargeet?
No, bro. The mountain of salt will be bigger on the pony side just because there's more of them. There's more Sony gamers than there are Xbox gamers. So if they lose, there'll be more salt.
By the way, is the thing done, Hargeet?
Not as much.
Is the thing done?
What?
Yeah,
is the thing done?
It's
okay. Sorry. Okay. So So I don't like. I mean, I know it's funny, Face. Like I'm laughing at it because it's true. Like I think there's gonna be a lot of salty people no matter what. But hey, you know what? That's what it is. Go ahead, Hargeet.
It'll be somewhat, either very cool or disappointing. I look at it more as like it's more entertaining if it actually goes through because then the whole market can shift, right? And if that doesn't happen, then you're saying that essentially somebody like ABK cannot be purchased.
Yep.
Not
Well,
by a platform, anyways, right?
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Who else is buying them?
Who knows? But let's say someone else comes in, Tencent, right? Let's say Tencent buys them.
Oh,
They're not
fuck
a
me.
Tencent
platform
is a
or-
platform.
Oh yeah,
They
Tencent is a
don't have a
platform.
They
platform.
don't make a console, do they?
They,
Does
they,
Tencent
they
make
have
a
their own
console?
platform.
They have their own platform in I think China.
in China.
Oh,
So they don't
okay.
do anything here. But that doesn't mean
Oh.
so. But they are their own. So they do their own shit, right? Whatever, fine. So if Tencent buys them, it's China. You think China's a better spot for ABK? I don't know.
Don't.
I think
they're already in
Bobby
trouble with
Kotick's going to take the. I think Bobby Kotick's just going to take the $3 billion and be like, "Whoa, cool, done, moving on." But it's I don't want to think about it until it happens because like if it does not go through, that is going
Rock
to me.
industry.
I think it's going to hinder a lot of Xbox's growth. I think that because that's what it says
that
to
did
us.
come up, by the way.
Yeah, go ahead.
That the FTC person kind of let slip was that well, if this was a smaller thing, we wouldn't be doing as much scrutiny, so it might have not have gone this far.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Something
I mean,
if
like
this
what?
pulls out, they spend the $70 billion on an Ubisoft, 4A games. Maybe they pick
Well,
up a couple of games,
Ubisoft
some
could
of
be
those
like
other
7 or 10.
acquisitions.
It wouldn't be that big. It's pretty small,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
something like they'll go out and grab 15 other things and go, hey, these are all little. They don't define the industry like Call of Duty does, and we're taking them.
Yeah,
But that's
I
the
mean,
thing.
That's
What defines the industry? Because there are bigger games, including Minecraft, which Microsoft actually already owns.
Yeah, like
But
Minecraft,
why does
Roblox.
it
I mean,
matter?
they talked about the most popular games. I think they said it was like Apex Legends, Rocket League, stuff like that. Like Overwatch is, like,
Yep.
you know, like there's a bunch of games that then they're like, and this is all on Nintendo anyway, so it is a competitor. Like this is like, and it's
Yep.
all about competing for time. But yeah, man, I appreciate everybody that's showing up. This is kind of insane that over 1,000 of you guys showed up, and I really appreciate it. But yeah, let's talk about. I do kind of want to talk about like the acquisition thing because. I don't know, like Hargeet, I don't know if you saw this, Hargeet, but like Sarah Bond put out a tweet that she was like, good to be, you know, going home after fixing stuff up or whatever. She's like traveling. And then she has a picture of like the Sega building, like
Just
right
with the
there.
family, heading home with the family.
Heading
and in
home.
the background of on the train she's on is some Sega building, and like clearly
Everybody
taken
was
there on
like-
purpose.
Everybody's like, hey, hold up. And that's that. The funny thing is, like, I remember when they signed, if you guys remember, they signed that deal with Sega to help with their technology infrastructure in the background and then maybe get some games on Game Pass. I always said that, like, yeah, Sarah Bond was the one that negotiated that.
No, she
Sarah
was that
Bond,
good
she was the
maker,
head
though.
on that. And so now, of course, like you look at all the fucking acquisitions that were going on, everybody was on that list basically. They were like, yo, we're just looking at everybody, preliminarily looking at them, getting like what it is, what it means for the business impact of Xbox and
I like the
Microsoft.
short list too. So
Yeah, and they had a lot of people on there, and every single thing that was a rumor, I feel like everybody got lucky, right? Some of the insiders that said, oh, it's not happening, Xbox is folding up, they were wrong. But it was more of the people that were like, yo, they're looking at Bungie. I think Special Nick was one of the first people to say, like, I think I'm hearing they're going to buy Bungie. That was on there. Like, they've admitted that they almost bought Bungie. They almost bought a bunch of these developers and publishers out there to the point where it was like, yeah, Xbox figured out, like, if we want to compete, we got to bring out first-party content, and we got to bring out content on Game Pass in our platform so we don't lose it. That, to me, was great. Now,
Well, it makes sense that the list
Yeah.
was as big as it was, right? You had a lot
Yeah, it
of
was
people
insane.
freaking out, like, they want to buy the
Well-
entire industry. Clearly, look at this list.
No,
and
no,
it's
no.
like, literally, man, like when you go out and to buy a house or a brand new car, you get what
You
your budget
find- you
is,
get a whole
you know
bunch
how
and
much
then
you can spend,
narrow it.
and then you shop around. Hey, what's
Yeah.
the walking distance to the nearest park? Is there a school
That's
for the
fair.
kids?
That's exactly what they were doing.
All that kind of, and that's all Microsoft was doing is here's how much we have, which is all, like we have all the
it's
money
like,
almost.
yeah,
Which
here's
is
how much
shit.
we have,
Who can
70
we
billion.
afford, right? Yeah, it's like, who can we afford? Anybody. Okay, well, let's have a look. So start putting their names on lists and see what makes sense. That's why the lists were as big as they were. They were never going to buy them all.
yeah,
It
they
was
kept
just-
narrowing them down, right? So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
that's exactly
So
right.
somebody's asking,
But
did the
that's
Switch?
some
Did
knee-jerk
somebody?
reactions.
Did somebody say? Did somebody say that the Switch 2 specs leak? I don't think so. I think that they're.
Not the specs, but they are
The existence of
talking
one.
about it more.
Yeah,
now.
they're more
So-
vocal about it. So I don't think it's the specs.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't go that way. But I will say this, mobile wise, after playing with Steam Deck and the ROG Ally, I will say that whatever Sony does, Nintendo does, they have, you know, some power behind their stuff if they really wanted to. And I think after
Yeah.
playing, like I told Shady this, and Hargeet got one too. He kind of him and Lord Cognito, fucking Cog, man. Him and D. Hargeet, Cog and D convinced me to buy a Rogue. Basically, like I was going back and forth with them. I almost didn't get one.
Mobile gamer.
And then when I got it, I'm playing stuff at
good.
1080p 60. Me and Hargeet were playing Halo Wars on it, and it was running at like 120 at max settings, everything. So we were just like, yo, this is insane. But anyways, I think that Nintendo's going to have, a pretty decent piece of hardware, especially with how the technology moved forward with mobile so quickly. So hopefully they do something crazy with it, but I just want like 60
Did you pay
frames.
for that Rogue though?
I paid 700.
You think Nintendo's gonna put out the Switch 2 at 700, man?
No, I'm saying that even if they don't,
No,
if they put it at,
still gonna be like $300.
it would be like
Rogue only sells the
300-400.
device. They don't get back end money.
No. I think
understand.
they'll
They
get
make money on the
even.
device.
I think even with like a $300-400 machine, they'll be able to get like pretty fucking decent power on it, especially now with the technology the
But I
way
don't
it
know,
is.
it might not run the quote unquote modern AAA third party games.
No, I don't think that's what they're aiming.
Found mad success doing that, man. They don't need third party big AAA stuff. They don't need it.
That's true, and Sony had been locking it away. Maybe though the third parties kind of want to go there, which would be
I'm
good.
sure they do, yeah. I mean, if Nintendo meets them and actually starts competing with hardware, just because even if it's by default, because the hardware out there to pick from is just so strong, as it is, it'll be a dangerous Nintendo.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
If you're gaming on that console, there's gonna be a lot of people that'll do. Yeah, I'll just go over there. Like I love Mario, I love Zelda, I love Mario Kart, I love Smash Bros, and they can play Call of Duty and the new Diablo.
Well, they're gonna get Diablo. They're gonna get Diablo. Not Diablo. They're gonna get Call of Duty anyways.
Just all the big, Ubisoft games, all the big single player, narrative driven Sony type games that the third parties make. Like if they can,
it'll be a good
make a system that gets those
with PC ones, right? The Rogue and there's plenty of new ones as well. But Nvidia has been trying to make something that would do using DLSS enough to give you sort of a 4K, 4K, 60 FPS, right? So that's what they've been trying to work
like that.
Because obviously it's going to be upscaling, right? So, but I want to point out a lot of the games that are coming out on the Series X and PS5 are running at 700 whatever, right? Resolution. They're not exactly running at 4K. So they're upscaling from 700 something. So if that's where we are with those boxes, then you can't exactly complain when the Switch 2 or whatever the heck it is also going to run at that resolution and scale up to 1080 or something like that. Because come on, the other guys aren't doing it either. Yeah. Right. So I just want to point out that everybody expects them to somehow come up with a miracle machine, but it's not like these boxes are doing much better.
Well, that's why I brought up the hardware thing of they'll be able to do something. And I'm gonna grab this one, Shady. We got Domehead for $5. He says, with the amount of people that play Call of Duty on PlayStation, I think Sony is terrified that they're going to be funding their competitor. And I gotta say thank you, Domehead, for the $5. I really appreciate the super chat. And honestly, that is the counter argument, right? From what Matt Booty was saying. Matt Booty was like, we're giving them these games, and that money that they use in the 30% is going to hurt us. Sony's thinking the 70% they get from the amount of people that play on PlayStation is going to hurt us. So it is they're just covering their own asses. Right. That's Sony literally what it is. Sony knows exactly what to do with the money because they've been doing it for years.
What they do, and they just assume that Microsoft will play exactly the same game. Sony's looking at their own playbook going, Jesus, if Microsoft does what we're doing, we're toast. Whereas Microsoft clearly has a different business model across the board, man. From Game Pass to having a Series S on the market to putting their games day one on PC. They have a different attitude towards this industry than Sony does. But Sony just time and time again looks at their own way of doing things and assumes that Microsoft is going to do exactly that, but because they're richer, can do it worse. And I don't see it.
I don't see it, but I do. There's something that keeps popping in my head, because Sony is very staunch in what they do. They're almost an archaic way of doing the business is hey, console games exclusive on here goes, and then now they started going kind of like the PlayStation. One thing that Michael Pachter said, I think it was a year and a half, 2 years ago. He said that the one thing that Jim Ryan has to deal with is that he's not really running everything. He just needs to make suggestions and then go over to the business leaders of Sony and make those decisions happen, which they don't change usually. So that's something that he has explained, and that's what Jim Ryan is kind of almost has his hands tied to some extent when it comes to expanding, because he has to make it a justifiable business aspect of how they have to change how they do their things in Sony, which I totally understood. When he said that, I was like, that actually makes sense because they're not as fluid.
If the FTC doesn't allow these kind of things, or any of the the regulators, the problem with trying to say that Microsoft buying something and competing, and that would hurt Sony's bottom line and maybe take some share away, but that's what's good for consumers. The whole point is to drive costs down for us, right? Yeah. If a competitor comes in and cost cuts, puts things in Game Pass, forces Sony to say, okay, I can't just keep dragging out billions in profit. I gotta give back. I gotta get value back to the customer. That means we get better stuff. That's the whole point, isn't it?
Yeah.
So from a market perspective, that's what I would like to see. Just like the judge was saying, well, they could put God of War into freaking PlayStation Plus. Why is that not a good thing, right? Like, why is that bad? If they put this in there, then Sony could respond, right?
She
And
even mentioned
the
how come they can't make something from scratch. She's like, Bobby Kotick started with nothing with Call of Duty and built it into a brand. And he's like, the judge actually said, how come you can't make something else that's popular? Like, go ahead, go do it.
They don't have to. They bought Bungie.
Yeah,
they bought Bungie. They already have it. They could just put Destiny.
Well, the fun, it's not even just Destiny now. Like, you look at Marathon, that could be something that we don't know. That could be something that blows up, but it's all multi-plat, and that's what they're trying to say is that even like this is the one thing that Microsoft I think we're trying to pigeonhole the FTC in is they were like, give us an example of something that is a big multiplayer game that was multi-platform that got bought by somebody and then was made exclusive, and they couldn't give them one example because the only example out there, or one of the only ones, is Bungie, and they stayed multi-plat, and that is a huge thing that people that you could tell, and the FTC, I know people say they're dumb. They to some extent they look it, but they're not. The FTC saw that from a mile away and did not even bite at all. They didn't say anything. They didn't give any thing because they knew right when they said anything, Microsoft was going to use that as an example, aka Sony's doing this. So that was one thing I was like, damn, they're avoiding that thing like a motherfucker. Like they're like, we're not going to even say anything. It's like, cool.
They just don't have a case. Now, I don't know if the judge will actually go this way or that way. We'll see, right? Because again, you can't account for crazy. And I got to be fair, this is all new to the judge as well. Even though she's pretty well versed because of the gamers lawsuit, she still has to try to understand a market that she doesn't really understand, right? So fair enough.
There's a bit of that, but she comes off a lot more competent than I was fearing. I was, if they had a judge on the same competence level as the FTC lawyers, we'd be in trouble over here. We'd be in trouble as Xbox fans. The company wouldn't be getting this deal, I'm pretty sure, because they're idiots. They are ignorant to how this industry works and how it operates at all times. Like it's been a gong show, a circus the entire time, all on the taxpayer's dollar. That's nice to see too.
Yeah. Shady, before we move on, thank you everybody for being here. I can't believe the turnout. You guys are fucking awesome. We got another super. You want to grab that, bud?
From Snow Dragon with the $5 Canadian. He's got his PC parts tonight. He's moving up from console. All right. Any tips to make it couch and living room friendly, like an Xbox controller, maybe to navigate Windows? Well,
this is a well, it depends on where you are, but I can kind of tackle this one. So if you're on Steam and you just want to be on Steam, you could go in big picture mode, which makes it extremely console-esque. Like that's what the Steam Deck is it's a console. Like I know people think it's not, but you literally use it as a console, and you can use everything with a controller. There's also this other thing. If you want to get all your games into one go, it takes a little bit of setting up. Hargeet, you had this program. What was it called again?
Play Night.
It's
freeware.
It's free.
So you can get it online. Play PLAYNITE. Play Night. So you can go download it. Look, I'm gonna recommend you get a mini keyboard because there's just no way around it. It's Windows. It's gonna require a keyboard. So you might as well just get used to that. I have a little mini keyboard. At least I can actually just show you what I have.
He's just fucking like, he's like, I'm gonna go get this keyboard real quick.
Yeah. So I got like this. It's just a little keyboard. It just USB attaches, right? It's a little USB dongle, and I just turn this on and use it when necessary. Otherwise, I just use the Xbox controller for everything else. But unfortunately, Windows is Windows. It is gonna need times when you need the keyboard. So I would recommend that if you're gonna. I have one connected directly to my TV. It is just for gaming. It starts right up into Play Night. And it aggregates all the other like Epic Store, the GOG Store, the Steam Game Pass,
EA,
right? So the Xbox Store, everything's in there.
Everything,
yeah. And it'll pull everything in there for you, and then you have all of them available to you. Just play whatever you want, install whatever you want from the interface. But unfortunately, once you go into other stores, there are times when it needs the keyboard. And so then you kind of still need the keyboard. And it's still Windows, it needs patches, it needs whatever. So it is what it is. You just get ready to have like a keyboard, but you can have something small and portable like this, and then have the controller for the rest of it. So I use an Elite, Elite 2 on there, and that little keyboard, and that works well enough. But expect to it's Windows. So expect it to
So
be Windows.
I will say this though, it is going to be Windows. You're going to need a keyboard, but a lot of software like Xbox right now is working with Asus, whatever, to make the Rogue Ally basically feel like you can do it on the console, which you can. You can use the controller the entire time. And Asus has this thing. I don't know. God damn it, does it not grab it? So I have my Rogue Ally here, or whatever. And if the interface, the interface is actually really good because the interface has the game library all there for you. You can just click it, go through it, and Asus has their own one. It's called the Armory, and it's really good. So there's also that, man. So there's a lot of stuff that you can go do it. It takes some setting up. PC is not like console. I'm going to say that right now. It takes you're going to have to deal with some stuff outside of the console that you do like usually do, but it's pretty good. That's it. That's the interface. So it has all the stuff there.
Is you just jamming an HDMI into the PC and then into the TV? That's it. Simple.
I mean, that's what we did. Yeah. Like, I mean, you just jam it in and then it usually just comes up and works. I mean, sure, you can set up some settings of how you want things to look, but for gaming, you can just do there. Yeah. Thanks for the question though. That was kind of awesome. And I'm going to grab this other one cause it's kind of out there, Shady, cause it's involved the ads. So it says, Hoarder in the Borderlands, thank you for the $20, man. He says, hi Zalker, Hargeet, and Shady. Hope you are all doing well. Wasn't here when the live stream started, but better late than never. I'm curious if you have heard the news about the YouTube ads and the fact 80% go to bad places. I have no idea what that means. I'll be real.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming it's a revenue split by bad places. What does that mean?
Yeah, did you hear anything, Hargeet?
A lot of that is going to Google.
I do know what this is about. Essentially, when you as an advertiser use Google's advertising platform, not specifically YouTube, it's for all of it, right? They give you the choice of I want to put it into a premium place, a general place, whatever, right? So you can kind of choose what area you want to go into. They have been putting them in the wrong places for 80% of the time. So if you were paying for premium, you weren't getting premium. So it's not like
the ads are funding quote unquote badness in the world. It's just
no. It's just
that's what I was getting. I was like, what the fuck?
Meeting the requirement.
Okay.
Well, so this is why everybody. So about what was it, like 7 years ago, when YouTube had what they called the adpocalypse. Everybody, like, basically a bunch of YouTubers were making like base $0, and a lot of people were hurt because a lot of people do YouTube for full time, and they were like financially hurt everything because advertisers realized that their ads went to where they didn't want it to go. Some people saying slurs, people saying some other stuff, and so the adpocalypse happened for months, and YouTube regulated everything on it, and then a lot of like lawyers got involved, so they had to change and revamp how they do their stuff like that. So other than that, that's all I know.
And by the way, this is beyond
premium
just
placement.
YouTube.
You're not getting that within the Google network.
It's beyond. It's beyond YouTube. This is also in placement on other sites, right? So
all done by Google specifically.
But exactly. So you pay Google as an ad platform, and they will then put their ads into. So you can like subscribe to it and say, hey, I have a website. I will go to Google and say, hey, I'm gonna put your ads on my site. And this is the kind of stuff I have, right? Mm-hmm. And they will then place their stuff there based on whatever you're telling them. So, but they failed at 80% of the time. So that's not good.
So this is something that affects actual advertisers.
YouTube. Exactly, it's the advertisers that are putting their content. They're expecting, hey, I'm paying you higher, whatever. So I expect it to be in maybe news sites or something like very high premium tier news sites where you get a higher clientele, whatever it is, right? So, or I'm expecting it to be in big e-tailers that more affluent people go to, whatever it is, right? So, but they're not hitting those.
That's the issue. For the advertisers paying. I'm just glad it's not something that is affecting.
Yeah, I thought it was
the content creators themselves, or the money isn't being funneled into some
it could lead to that
organization or something crazy.
It could lead to that, right? Because YouTube could say, well, okay, we have to moderate even more because when we were putting them on certain ones, like you're saying, Zalker, and hey, they were swearing or whatever it is, suddenly that's not good, and therefore we shouldn't have been putting those there. We just didn't know. They could do more moderation. I don't know. That's just something.
Well, I want to say thanks. Thanks. I don't know any about Hoarder. I didn't know anything about that, man. I'm here talking games like a jackass, and I enjoy myself talking with my buddies.
Until we start making ads, something won't affect us. So.
Yeah, we're gonna start making ads. Do you know Zealots of Gaming? We have a little commercial, like us just smiling. Come join us if you love gaming and nothing else.
Just be my picture. There'll be no face.
just Shady's like talking. They're like,
I'm
this kind of
believe me.
Trust me, I'm not creepy. I want to talk about one more thing because I think the FTC thing, we freaking just beat it with a dead horse. There is one more thing I want to talk about, and that's a game that I was looking for.
Horse?
I mean, like a dead horse.
Give me that horse. I'm swinging this bitch.
Did you guys see the Avowed developer talking? Avowed came out and basically, here, I'm going to just tell you what he said.
Isn't it? Those visuals are pre-alpha, baby. We're going to clean this bitch up. Don't worry about it.
He basically said that the trailers, he said, this is a verified Obsidian developer, said that the trailer fails to show much in its 2-minute runtime. To clear up misconceptions, though, I'll say this. The game is big and open. It is unfair to compare it to Outer Worlds. I think Fergus is trying to keep expectations down just in case, which I think is nothing alike. The studio that did the trailer did some compression of colors and image editing. The screenshots that have been released are much more representative of what it looks like just running through it. They also appear to be totally random shots from the game. I'm not sure why these were chosen out of all things, probably to keep spoilers at minimum. A lot of the game is being kept hidden right now. I think you will have to wait until the next trailer or some sort of presentation to really see it, but it is safe to assume it is very Obsidian. No, the entire game isn't all bright and happy town. No, it is not also indistinct visually. There are lots of characters, quests, conversations, various game mechanics, big story, etc. Development is going well right now. Microsoft is allowing Obsidian free license to do as they will, and if it is a success or if it fails, it'll be on Obsidian's own terms. And like you said, Shady, he says Avowed isn't alpha yet. It's pre-alpha. Art will get refined in various ways. Lighting will change. And that's what the developer basically said. Now, I kind of think that this was kind of cool that he came out and did that. Because a lot of people come out and they say stuff like, oh, this, and then everybody's just quiet. This developer came out and was like, hold up, dude. Like, this is pre-alpha footage that we showed you. We got a good, like, to me, they got the gameplay, the core gameplay loop down. And now they're building the game out. And they might need, like, in the next 18 months to do that. And when the game comes out, it's probably going to look a little different. Or it's going to look a little bit of the same. We don't know. But I like that he came out and kind of squashed a lot of the stuff and was like, bro, we didn't even show you everything. Like, and that to me is kind of cool. At least I think so. What do you think, Shady?
I do too, man. Like, I wasn't pouncing on this game like a lot of other people in the community calling it dog shit. I thought it looked pretty good. It wasn't setting the graphical standard across the board.
No.
But I thought it looked good. Things were tight. I wasn't guessing at what I was looking at. The combat looked like meaty. When you hit something with the axe, it looked like you thudded that bastard, as opposed to playing Skyrim where, to me anyways, everything feels feather light. Like, I just thought it looked pretty good. And I did like the splashes of color everywhere. When it comes to a lot of these fantasy games and stuff, we're all exploring the same dreary forests for too long. I want to see glowing mushrooms and funguses and weird leaves. Like, I basically want to walk around on Pandora in more of these games. Give me some cool, true fantasy, out there, made-up stuff, and then plop that into a forest. That's more exciting to travel through than just another forest that's made up of the same program that randomly generates trees. I mean, I really liked it a lot, so I hope they don't shy away from the backlash that people are saying.
I don't think they're going to, man.
Like, even that initial CGI, people were like, this was dark and dreary, and I'm like, what? There was, like, neon purples and stuff going down. Like, half the trailer had crazy color in it, as far as I was concerned. Yeah, he was in a dreary cave, but he's, like, using hand signals and stuff with the neon purple. I thought the game was going to have color. So when I saw it, I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought. So I hope they don't pull away from it. I just hope that's not the only thing. I don't need to, run around in Rainbow Town the whole time. I do like dark and dreary a lot.
Well, that's what he brings up, right? Is like, he's like, there's going to be multiple places where it's like, this is different. Yeah. Like, just one place is going to look different. And I like that you said that, because I know a lot of people didn't like the way the game looks. Some people don't really like those type of fantasy games, but it was for me, it was a big thing, because one of the things me and like Shady have talked about, and other people I've mentioned this to, is that I do want like a fantastical world, something that doesn't look like somewhere I can be here, like Pandora with that new Avatar game coming out. The way that this game looks, like, it doesn't look like something that we're going to run into this world, minus the bear and some other stuff. But I'm just saying,
bear,
like, even the bear looked all fucked
with
up,
his mold on him and stuff. Like, I thought it looked pretty good, and I'm not.
It's a Last of Us bear, bro,
at all. But I think it looks good, and graphics generally are one of the last things to truly come together when you're making games. At least I've been led to believe that. So the way it looks now, I could see it for sure getting a little bit of an upgrade, both with texture quality, maybe some face work. I'm not sure what it needs. I was happy with what I saw.
I mean, I think we're going to get a much cleaner experience. It's Obsidian Entertainment. Like, I mean, they're gonna polish it up. We're going to see it next year. I hope they do kind of like what they did this year with the developer direct, where they go into it a little bit more detail and just talk about it, give it like a good, like, you know, not even just gameplay, just hey, this is what it is. Some gameplay, some new stuff, some new looking stuff. Hargeet, what do you think about it, man?
Well, so does it need to be different? I mean, the problem we run into is everything's got to look like it's real because Sony exists, and I'm not a fan of that at all.
Yeah.
As you know, I don't care about graphics.
Yeah,
I care about gameplay. Right?
Oh yeah.
So which is why, like Zelda, I don't give a shit the graphics. What? I don't care. The game's fun to play. Cool.
You put 200 hours in that fucker, didn't you?
110, 115, something like that. Yeah. So, and you know, whatever. It's a great game. I played it. I don't care. I did play it on PC, 4K upres, but this is the thing. I don't care that, like, if you know, Obsidian wants to make the game look a certain way, great. Like, Grounded to me does not look stellar, but it looks good enough, and it's good game. It's fun. I've played it, finished it. The DLC, we're almost done with the DLC, right? So I'm happy to play the game they put out. Outer Worlds, that was theirs, right? Outer Worlds.
Yep.
I liked it. I played and finished that. You know, and pretty much did everything in it. So, and was that colorful at times? Sure. Was it serious at times? Sure. Whatever, right? So it's whatever their intent is, right? I would rather they just make the game they want to make. If you want something dark and dreary, there's other games out there. You're gonna get Hellblade, which is gonna be pretty dark because it's all mental issues. So, right, you're definitely gonna get some interesting stuff there. Enjoy that kind of game, right? And that's fine. You get that over there. I want them to make the games that they make. Obsidian makes some cool, wacky stuff and with some serious tones, right? It's pretty good. I like those kind of games. So
yes, I agree.
I hope they don't change it. I hope they do what they want to do.
I gotta say that I'm glad that they're like the one thing here. I'm gonna read it just so I'm not misquoting. The one thing I do got to say is that they're gonna fail if it's Obsidian. Like, it's if they succeed, it's Obsidian. If they fail, it's Obsidian, which is awesome. Like, to me, that's great. But I do have to say, like, to me, that's a good thing. I do have to say, don't give them too much freedom where you're not having like the guys go in there and help them like you did with Redfall. That's the only, and I think Xbox knows that. They have plenty of time to do that, to help them out if they have any trouble. I think they're going to start doing that with all.
I hope that is.
I think they're going to do that with all of their studios. They're going to go there and be like, "You sure you're good? Let us come in there, see what's up, and then we'll do that." Yeah. Like, I don't know if you guys know, but there's rumors. It's actually not rumor. I think it's like confirmed. Xbox has sent people over to the Baldur's Gate 3 developers. They sent people over. They put
Larian up on the Series S,
which, by the way, was on the short list.
Larian, yeah, Larian was one of the. If they bought Larian, I would have shit myself because Larian makes some of the best RPGs in the world. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what anybody says. They have one of the some of the most in-depth RPG and a true RPG open worlds. But what they send people over there. That's what I think Xbox is doing a little bit better now. Is they're putting that stuff up there, and if they that includes their first party. So I'm glad that Obsidian's given the freedom to do what they want, because Obsidian and Exile, there's a few studios where you're just like, let them cook, bro. Like, let them do what they got to do. They know what they're doing. If they need some technical help on stuff, sure, provide that. But overall, let them do what they need to do. Go ahead, Hargeet.
You were conjecturing that maybe the what is the team that helps the technology team that
the Advanced Systems Group or something like that.
Right. So that they were kind of not there anymore or tied. Maybe a lot of them were assigned to Starfield to say, no, we're going to make sure this thing hums, right? Yeah. Even doing 4K 30 without any frame dip, if it gets there, is pretty impressive, right? So
it would be.
Right, so maybe that's what they were doing. They're like, we're going to make this hum, right? So they sent like half of the team, like, go make that happen, right? Fair enough. Maybe that's what they did.
Yeah, to concentrate on Starfield because it's the biggest game that they got coming out. Now that they freed up,
yeah, it's a big deal for Microsoft, right? So it's like, fine, okay, and then maybe they're freeing up, and now they're like, oh, cool, now we can assign people to other games and let's go
to other studios and stuff. And I will say that I don't know, like, I mean, this is all speculation. Like, we didn't hear about that group for a while, and I said that on RDX, said that on a bunch of other stuff. I said, like, hey man, like, where's this group been? I feel like we haven't heard from them in a long time. And
ninjas, man.
Doing? I mean, they're ninjas, but I feel like you used to hear about them, like, oh, they went to this studio. Now we're hearing that again, and I did think that, like, maybe because late last year Microsoft had a shit ton of layoffs, and I'm thinking that every company did. Every single company had massive layoffs. So I was thinking, like, maybe some of that team did get laid off, or maybe something happened. And I'm like, in my head, I'm just saying it out loud. I was like, I'm not saying that it's confirmed. I'm like, maybe something happened, and then now they're, but I never thought of the Starfield thing, Hargeet. That's a good point. Like, maybe they were working on that because I think Pete Hines said that like, or Todd Howard, someone said that like this is the least buggy Bethesda game they've ever had, and they're still not even at release, and they're still the smoothest running. And that's something to me that I'm like, okay, maybe these guys were there, because Phil did say that they sent the guys over there at Starfield very early to help with the Xbox, like basically making it run. And if they could get like 4K 30 or whatever it is, like 30 without any dips, that is insane, people, for that type of engine. And I'm not saying that like because of damage, like especially the Series, and Todd Howard.
That's with ray tracing. Let's just keep in mind, because it's going to do global illumination, right? That's with ray tracing.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty insane.
Well, Bethesda's version of it, they don't actually call it ray tracing. They just say global
illumination. It's global illumination. That is
two engines. So it is like it's a facsimile that's doing a really damn good job, similar to Nanite with Unreal Engine. And,
Well, but Nanite also uses ray tracing, right? So it's all based on RT.
It's very similar tech, but different at the same time.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. It's the same thing, but they're just not using the same like kind of like words on it. And I do have to say that pushing that type of stuff on there is going to be insane. And Todd Howard, they asked him, like, when he was talking about Starfield, he's like, I played it the most on the Series S. Like, he's played it more at the Series S at his house than anywhere else, and probably everywhere, even in the studio, because he said that the big TV, his kids usually take it over, and so then he wants to be by himself, so he goes in the studio, and he has a Series S there that he's been playing it on. And I think, to me, a lot of people are like, oh, look, he's getting kicked out. I think that was intentional. I think they wanted it to run well on that and run well on the Series X, because they're like, we can get it to the Series X. The Series S is going to be, we need to work on it a little bit more. And I think that was intentional, to where if I'm having a good experience, aka Todd Howard, on the Series S, then it's going to be great everywhere else. Like that, to me.
Like Starfield, if it wasn't for Microsoft's purchase, Starfield would have been out a year and a half ago already.
Oh,
so
fuck, yeah.
If that's the case, like I'm sure content-wise, it's all there, and they've been spending all this time to make sure that it launches solid.
But
can we say that it would have been a buggy? Because you saw the difference, man. The gameplay they showed last year to this year was a massive difference.
Yeah, it's been a giant 12-month to like 18-month or 16-month polish phase where they've been able to make the graphics look much better. The game's going to run much better. They've probably been able to address a lot of the issues and bugs that Bethesda games are known for. Like if the game was going to launch a year and a half ago and it didn't, that's a lot of polish, man. So if that Xbox team was over there, that might explain why we didn't hear from them from a long time. I did see about them going over and helping with the new game there from Lionel.
Fucking they what was the Lorian?
Yeah, I heard that. And that company specifically said, we are having trouble currently getting the game to run split screen co-op on the Series S publicly. That was a thing. That was a huge uproar. Remember, the Series S is holding the goddamn gen back again. So that team actually kind of cried out, and Xbox has apparently sent over the ninjas, and they took care of some business, because the tweet I saw was it is now running split screen co-op on Series S, and they have hopes to get the game on Xbox this year. They want to have the game come out in the same year, as opposed to indeterminate. We have plans, but we can't give you a date because
PS5 got delayed, right?
Well, the PC and the PS5 got delayed. Lorian's like, we just need a little more time to polish it up. So it's coming out August in PC. I think like August, I forgot the date, August something. And then for PS5, it's coming September 6th. Literally, I think the day Starfield.
The Xbox will get it by November if it's delayed.
Starfield Day? Really? They chose Starfield Day?
They totally did.
Okay.
I'm trying to see, like, because Baldur's Gate 3, can somebody confirm? Can somebody confirm for me? I think Baldur's Gate, like, this is how big this game is. A lot of people are like, oh, it's just a small indie. Baldur's Gate 3 is not a small indie. Lorian has over 300 people on their staff, like full time. That doesn't include contractors. Yeah. They have 300 people, and I think the game, people are making fun of like Final Fantasy having like so much cutscenes, like 75%. They have, I think, 130 hours of like cinematic cutscenes in Baldur's Gate 3. Like that's how big that game. Like I could be wrong. I might have the number wrong, but they have that many cinematic cutscenes because of the side quests, the way you go, everywhere you could do like I'm telling you, they make some of the most in-depth big RPGs in the world. Original,
good pickup. It can't cost that much.
They can't cost that much, pickup. Man. Like if you get them, that is a massive get. And I'm telling you right now, I don't care what IP it comes with. If you get them, you want to grow PC. If you put those games instantly in there, like Original Sin, like
and
Divinity,
to put on console, so it's great.
Yeah, and console, and they console have
on PC.
They're doing it now. They're already doing their pre-work, so it's like that to me is like one of the like it's huge.
Good pickup.
Yeah. So I like the cinematics just to me is like insane, and then the gameplay's insane. Divinity Original Sin 2 is one of the like best RPGs out there. I don't care what anybody says.
Baldur's
That's the same
Gate.
IP then as Avowed, right? Divinity.
No, Divinity
No,
is not the same.
no.
That's Pillars of
What's the-
Eternity.
Pillars
Pillars of
I
Eternity.
confuse those two every
Yeah.
single time someone brings up one
But-
or the other. Always. I can't stop myself.
Yeah.
But Obsidian and Inexile have been trying to get Baldur's Gate. Did they own it before and they let it go or something like that? They were Interplay before,
A lot of
right?
people have been trying to get Baldur's Gate, man. A lot of
Yeah,
people, because it's
so-
a massive IP.
And so it got licensed to Larian to make this game. We'll see what happens.
originally made
Hopefully
that?
it's great.
Was that
What was that?
BioWare? Did you guys say that? BioWare was the original guys?
BioWare and Black something. I
That's
can't
crazy.
remember the other studio. Black something. I can't remember the name of it. But yeah, so it was BioWare. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm looking through the thing right now to see if I was right. Yeah, so it says it's coming to PC early, and then it's coming to PS5. So August. I'm trying to find out where the fuck Baldur's Gate needs to
So I
stand
thought it
down.
was indefinite on the PS5, but maybe you're right. It's a freaking Starfield Day. It's coming out on PS5.
Yeah, the tweet I saw said
Yeah.
they hope to have it on the Xbox platform this year, which was a lot better than to be determined because they
Oh,
were
and
having
they're
issues. So.
and everybody. So just so you know, the reason why they delayed it is because they said, as for the console versions, Vinsky explained that Lorian's priority is to reach a stable 60 FPS frame rate, which is why the PS5 version will launch a month later, and the Xbox Series X and S version is still in the works. PS5, we want to hit that 60 FPS. We're very close to reaching that. And it just takes some time to get there. And that's what they said on Xbox. We need a bit more time. There's different requirements there, but we're hitting those. We're hitting those too. It's just going to take a little bit of extra time, is what they said. So
you gotta be careful; it'll just overheat that PS5 Final Fantasy stuff.
Jesus, isn't it like a boss in Final Fantasy is like overheating the system or something?
Cutscenes. It's a cutscene.
Is it a cutscene?
Cutscene GPU. I don't have the powers. It's fucking. It's funny to watch, man. I'm actually watching dudes that I used to watch podcasts of live streaming it, and it's shutting down on them. And it's like, well, this isn't just some garbage narrative. It's happening. I'm watching it happen. So that's a shame.
That does suck, man. Because I know there's a lot of like sometimes hardware issues where people just have like overheating. But if it's just like that game, it's like
something in that cutscene is pushing something a little too hard that triggers the internals to go easy now. You know, so they just need to tone it back a little bit. Whatever. It is,
yeah, whatever. I know. A lot of people make fun. Like, I know it's an 88 meta Final Fantasy. And to be fair, I've not played many Final Fantasies. I played one when I was a kid, or like a couple of them. I didn't really get into them. But the Steam sale just happened on PC, and I bought Final Fantasy Remake 7, and I bought Final Fantasy 15. I'm going to dive into them. I'm going to check them out. I'm going to see if I like them. I know a lot of people are playing them. Dude, I already fucking know it, because we're going to be in a party chat, and I'm going to be like, you want to play Fortnite? And you're going to be like, what are you doing? I'm like, playing Final Fantasy. But you want to do Fortnite? And you're going to be like, you fucking fraud. I know what's going to happen. So I just want to try it. And to be honest, I actually downloaded it on the PC and the ROG, because that's obviously I bought it on Steam. But I want to do it where I'm not talking to people. So the ROG Ally is like, I'm in bed or I'm somewhere else. I'm commuting for work mostly. That's what it is for work, because I have a pretty long commute. That's what it's there for. So I can get into Final Fantasy and not be distracted. Like, break the immersion. So we'll see what it goes. Server says Divinity is for a certain type of player, I feel. No, it is. I will say that it is it's a turn-based strategic kind of game, but the RPG elements are unmatched to me. Like, they are insane. You could go so many different directions. You could do so much with the game, so many side quests and so many world and lore building things that it's almost overwhelming to a point where I know people that have, it's like a Skyrim. People have like 400 to 500 hours in that game, and they're like, that was just my one playthrough. Like, holy shit, I didn't do this whole other thing over here, this whole other thing over here. Like, that's just how much content they bring out. Lorien is just awesome like that. So, yeah. But, yeah, do you guys have any other topics in your head that you can think of?
There was an Annapurna showcase tonight. I was only able to click through it quick before we went live, but they were showcasing some of their games that are coming up quick. The Cocoon game, that's coming out here pretty soon. That's a Game Pass title. It looked neat. You were like kept going into smaller and smaller worlds encompassing themselves or something, if I remember the trailer correctly. It looked cool back in the day. They announced Stray come to Xbox a year later. I don't see a Game Pass symbol. I'm not looking to drop money on that cat game myself, so I'm just going to wait around until it is. But it was nothing huge. Like,
just a cool couple little indies.
Check it out when it's over. Yeah, like they make some quality stuff.
The only thing I could think of is that Game Pass dropped a couple games. Planet of Lana is fucking awesome. I really recommend everybody check that out. They did this other game, the Mountain King. I forgot what it was called. That game, Bramble, the Mountain King. I downloaded that. It looks insanely cool. It's a shorter game, 3 to 4 hours, but that looks really fun. There's
It's
also
like a Limbo-esque, isn't it?
Yeah,
You're
it's like a
playing-
Limbo-esque, but like the graphics look insane, dude. And then there's also
the enemies look almost real.
dude, and it looks kind of like, I don't know, people need to check that out. Like Game Pass has dropped a couple small little bangers that look really fun. Fist Forged in the Shadows. I have played this game. I didn't beat it. I played it at my buddies, and I have to say that game is something I already have it downloaded on all my platforms. I have it downloaded everywhere because
Like
I'm
an
going to play it
action
whatever.
platformer?
It's like it's like an action platformer. It's like what do you call it? Like Ori, right? Or just Hollow Knight, kind of like that. But it looks way like, look it up, man. Look up the trailers. That looks sick. That game is fun. I played it.
The price was right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, his price was right. Game Pass right. So there's a couple cool things dropping on Game Pass that I'm happy to check out. And as for PlayStation, I'm just kind of waiting for Spider-Man. Anyways, I think we have had.
One thing I'd like to bring up is the cloud stuff that we found out. The cloud for Xbox, it costs more to run it than it does than they're bringing it in.
Yeah, they're losing money
that doesn't
per
even
user.
include. Right, that doesn't even include actually building out the hardware, putting it in, taking it away consoles from people's living rooms because that's what they have to do, right? So that was what was killing the supply of Series X's. That's what they said anyway.
Funneling it into their cloud architecture.
Putting them into cloud data centers.
Just so everybody understands what he means, they stopped making Xbox Series X's and took the hit on selling consoles to boost the xCloud platform, and it was and Phil kind of said it was a mistake. Put it that way.
Yeah. So they're now going to put that supply back to making Series X consoles. Good. But the cloud itself, not profitable, according to them. And NVIDIA, very gung-ho about it, but not profitable.
Sounds like a booming industry, if you ask me. A separate booming industry, you know what I'm saying?
Sounds like a market that should be blocked. We should block everything. This is something that Hargeet, I got to give Hargeet credit for months now. He's been saying this for fucking months that it's it's a convenience factor. And then Sarah Bond literally said what Hargeet said, which was most people that play xCloud are just trying out a game or playing it as they download before downloading it for like 3 minutes, and that costs us more money than it is. It's worth.
Okay. And so Jim Ryan said that we don't think it's going to be viable until 2025 through 2035. We don't know when in that time frame, but I think by then it's going to be surpassed by the hardware, dude. Like we were talking about it. The Steam Deck is 1.6 T-flops. It came out 1 year ago. It came out in February of 2022.
Yeah. Wasn't the Rogue like
this
8.5
month?
Yeah.
This month, the Rogue Allies 8.6 T-flops.
Yeah.
It's more than 4 times the power. It's ridiculous. That's what we got.
It's a PS5 in your hand.
It's ridiculous how much. So that's 1 year. 1 year. What do you think it's gonna be 5 years from now? Like, give me a break.
5 years from now,
like
you're
the cell
rocking
phones are already so
20
ridiculous.
T-flops.
You're gonna have in your hand something that's gonna be 3 times more powerful than the Series X. That's what's gonna happen. It's just gonna happen. It's just the way it is.
4070 in your phone.
Literally, right? And then what? Your cell phone isn't gonna have that? It is. They're already at 4 T-flops. The next one's supposed to be 30% more power. That's what's coming out this year.
So you'll be able to connect your phone to a controller and then to your TV.
Literally.
And there you go. There's your quote-unquote console connected to your TV.
Can stream to your TV. It's direct in your. It's right there. Your controller can connect to it. Now we're talking milliseconds instead of hundreds of milliseconds of latency, right? Right directly right there. Everything's right there. Why wouldn't you do that? I don't get the market. I just don't get where cloud makes any sense to me.
I think just download it. Can I just say that Serve said it perfectly. Serve said it perfectly. Tech moves faster than people understand. That is true. Tech does move a lot faster, and I am really happy with like the mobile stuff I've had. To me, I'm just having fun gaming, man. Like if I want to sit down and relax and play on my console, I can do that, which I've done. Like I was playing what do you call that game? Dante's Inferno earlier. Like just on backwards compat on the console. I was like, it's great. I was enjoying myself. I was killing demons or whatever. And then I jump on my Rogue Alley when I'm like commuting, and then I jump on my PC when it's like the weekend and I'm playing crazy like Counter-Strike with my buddies. Like it is insane how crazy gaming has come forward. So I have really enjoyed just the hobby in general. I don't care where people play, but the whole like mobile thing, the whole cloud thing, I think the whole cloud thing is dumb. I think they're going to push back from it. I think they're going to move away from it, especially since they stopped bringing out like I think the whole thing where like people were like, oh, Series X's haven't been out. Like they're sold. Like they are. They literally admitted they're like, yeah, we didn't make enough because we're pushing the cloud. And now all of a sudden there's a shit ton of Series X's out there because Phil was like during the E3 showing, he was like, yo, here you go. We're going to have more Series X's. I think they cut back on the cloud. I think they're going to move away from it. I think they're going to be like, hey, let's just get more consoles out there. Let's invest more money into the console and then into the platform, aka content, instead of the cloud. And I think they're going to push more and partner with third party when it comes to handhelds like the Asus Rogue Ally. Like that's what they're going to do. The ROG, they're just wholeheartedly, it's confirmed. Microsoft worked with Asus on this. They worked with them to make Game Pass run easily on there, and that to me is an indication that they are trying to make PC into a console like what somebody asked about. Is they're going to be working on that too. That's just what I think, and they're going to have third party kind of do the heavy lifting. They'll just assist and make the Xbox platform a little easier to access through that. So that's it.
Let's hope that comes soon. But that is something they look to be working on, and it's a good idea to kind of give you an Xboxy feel on PC.
Can I ask you something, Shady? If it was an Xboxy feel on PC, would you ever go there?
If there was an Xbox which?
Like an Xbox feeling UI on PC. Like that person asked, would it entice you to go to PC outside of the console?
It's not the UI that gets in the way. It's the whole back end of it's not as user friendly at the end of the day. It just isn't. Yeah. And usually to get the type of play, one of my problems with playing on PC is I know what great PCs are capable of, and the options, like the settings in every game, reflect that. You want to have ultra shadows, you want to have maximum this and that, and it's like if my PC can't do that, in my brain, I just feel like I'm having a shittier experience. Whereas on the console, it just is what it is. And I accepted that a long time ago. And even consoles are creeping into that space. Do you want to play quality mode with better textures, a higher resolution, more foliage out
Ray
there,
tracing?
all that kind of crap, but less frames? Or do you want to have more frames, but the textures are blurry, there's less grass, that kind of crap?
Funny
I
how
don't
they're
make those choices. I
similar
really don't. Like, I'm not a fan of that. I'm glad they're there for the people that want them. But in one way, I always look at it as a kind of a glass half full. Which option am I choosing because I get the least things that don't bother me? That's not what I get that's good. It's what are they taking away? At frame rate, I'm losing resolution and texture quality. At the other way, I'm losing frames, but I'm getting better textures and better resolution. It just feels like I'm losing something all the time.
Yeah.
So PC, if I had the tippity top, if I was rocking a 4090, and every year or every 2 years when they came out with a brand new card, I was getting that brand new card, it would feel different. And I used to game on PC, like a decent amount. I've never been a PC gamer, but I played a lot on PC years ago. And, it's fun, but I just enjoy that ease of use. It's easier to get friends into and play. It just sort of works more often than not. And if something's wrong, I just restart the console and more often it fixes itself. Or engineers in the background fix it for me. So it's the user experience at the end of the day.
So what you're saying is you need to hire somebody like me, like a little engineer in the back fixing your PC. Like, there you go, man, go. And you're like, yeah, thanks.
I think what you do is
PC is for this show. That's it. Like, for the rest of the week, I don't use it at all. It just never gets turned on. So it's essentially almost an alien device to me. I got a lot of work to just get comfortable with it.
Yeah, go ahead, Hargeet.
Well, I mean, what they could do is say, hey, we'll like certify like 5 different companies that have specific models, right? And those models will just be baked to work correctly, and it'll run an Xboxy looking OS, but it is Windows underneath it, right? But we'll take care of the rest, right? And so when there's updates, it's just automatic. It's all seamless in the background, just like with Xbox, right? It's just kind of seamless in the background, right? So they just handle the whole thing. I think that's a good way, a compromise, right? So that you don't have to go figure everything out, get the drivers and everything right. No, it'll be like something they certify. It's baked. Everything is taken care of, and so you can buy one of the 5 different companies, whatever. That might be a way to go, right? And that way you get like 3 or 4 tiers: low tier, mid tier, high tier. Go with it, right? And that could be a potential way. But we'll see what they do with it. But I think that's what's like the Rogue Ally is a bespoke device, right? You're not going and mucking with it. This is what it is. It's going to work this way, and Microsoft.
But I will say though that it is the Rogue has a lot of catching up to do when it comes to like setting
100%,
up. Like when it comes to setting up like the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck, I was like, I plugged in, I downloaded automatically. It gave me a thing like, you have a software update. I clicked it, I waited, and then like within 20 minutes I was playing a game. Right? Like it was just updated. Yeah. Like the Rogue Ally took me like an hour and a half to set up, and that was more because I had to download. It's still Windowsy. I had to download a bunch of stuff. So either way, like it's all good. But I think I think this was a fucking awesome show. I think it was fortunate that we had the closing arguments done today when we went live, which was insane because we could just go back and forth, show our passion. But yeah, I'm going to start doing some outros, boys, unless you guys have anything else that you have in your head. I can't think of anything. I think we went through it. Like, most of the news in gaming was about this damn topic, which is the FTC. So let's do some outros. Shady, what do you got planned for the rest of your week, man? What are you going to be gaming, and where can people find you, brother?
For the rest of the week, I'm, just going to chill, keep an eye on the news, see what kind of pops up. As we talk about games every week, it's nice to be a little bit informed on that. So I've always got my eyes and ears open. But I'm going to play some more Remnant. I'm trying to grind out a couple pieces of gear I'd like, and I still have the expansion to do. And then I just plan on playing as many games as I can to find the one outside of Remnant that's really going to grab me. And a lot of that is my backlog stuff. I got a lot of games, like 900 plus, that I own, let alone all the EA and Game Pass stuff in there. I want to start pushing some of these games, and if they do latch on, I'll see them to the end. If they don't, then I'll move on. At least give them a shot. I purchased way too many games, played the first level, and then got into something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly. It's a disease, dude.
It is. So I'm going to start just loading up a whole bunch of stuff that I've had my eyes on. It's always one of those like, ooh, when I find the perfect time in the perfect mood, like I'm just going to push that shit aside and just start cranking them out and see what I enjoy and what I don't. And the ones I don't, I can for sure put away, right? And not always be, I wonder if, but yeah, I did notice in the store that we got a game called Rain World coming out in like a week and a half or something like that. It's a little indie game. It's huge. What do you call it? Immersive type world. It's just nuts. I saw a whole bunch of stuff on it a while ago on YouTube, and I remember looking it up to see if it was coming to console, and sure enough it is now. It's coming very soon, so I'm excited for that. But yeah, man, you can probably find me in Fortnite. I know I got to get a couple crowns. I like grinding up that pass, unloading the sweet cosmetics. You know me. But other than that, man, just chilling. And you can find me here every week on Thursday on your channel on this show, Zealots of Gaming. Thank you so much for everyone coming out. I can't believe the numbers.
Dude,
fifth show we've done. It was absolutely staggering to see what it does. That was like double our previous record.
That was more than double our previous record. It was because I don't look at just so everybody knows, I don't look at the numbers at all during the show. I just enjoy the show, follow the chat, and the highest we've ever got was like 498 or 500. So it went above that.
That's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. It's humbling. I don't want to be out here be one of those guys who be like, I didn't think anyone would show up to listen to us. I expected some people, but not 900 plus in on the fifth show. That is fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for coming out, spending your precious time hanging out with us and listening to us talk about games and argue with each other and this and that. It's fantastic.
It was over 1K, by the way. It was over 1,000, just so you know.
That's awesome, man. Like, this is something I enjoy doing. It's not something that I'm doing to get popular, get rich, none of that stuff. It's just, I like talking games. I do it more often than I'm not when I'm hanging out with people, and to be able to come here and just share it with such a large community that it seems, going by the chat, very passionate, is fantastic. So I look forward to coming back again week after week and sharing my opinions. So thank you so much. I'll see you all next week. Happy gaming. Take it easy.
Thanks, Shady. And Hargeet, how about you, brother? What do you got planned for the rest of your week, and where can people find you that's not Twitter?
Yeah, I'm not on Twitter, of course. At Elon Musk. Yeah, so certainly I'm in many different podcasts, but both of us are in RDX on Tuesdays, 8 p.m. US Eastern, and I'm in Boom's Primetime Gaming Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, I guess you can find me on Discord. It's now just Chani. They took away the number thingy, so it's just Chani on Discord and Chani on Xbox. Yeah, I don't know if hopefully I'll get to play some games. I've been kind of busy, so I haven't played too much. And since we won't be, our next one will be after Independence Day. So happy 4th for all those in the U.S.
Happy 4th, everybody.
Celebrate 4th of July. Enjoy it. Hopefully it'll be a fun day. Hopefully you do some barbecuing. Have some fun.
Yeah.
Good summer day.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and I got to reiterate that. Happy 4th. Hopefully everybody has a great long weekend. If you have a long weekend, have some good time with the family. Enjoy, the holiday if you're, in North America or in America. But yeah, I appreciate everybody that showed up. It's insane how many people did. I was shocked to see it. Like I said, I really don't look at the fucking numbers, man. I just have fun with this. And when Lethal put that up there, the boss mod, who's the homie, because I could see him stand out with that wrench, I was like, damn, for real? I thought he was trolling me at first, and then I took a peek, and I was like, fuck, it is. So that was really cool to see that. Very humbling. And yeah, you guys know where you can find me right here Thursday with Zealots of Gaming. And then, of course, I'm trying to get some videos out, but I will be honest with you, a lot of family stuff came up, and then a lot of work stuff came up. So I'm trying to get those out there, and
hopefully I could get one out next week, early next week or late next week. But I'm going to try the best because I just want to like even talk more about the Xbox and what's happening in the news. And you can find me at Zalker87 on Twitter. So I really appreciate everybody that showed up. You guys are awesome. Hit that like button on the way out. We can't wait to see you guys next week after Independence Day, where America dominated Canada. Shady. So yeah, I appreciate